Chapter 376. Outside the villa. Kong Xia walked out of the courtyard again and looked at Li Haoran, who was leaning on the front of the car and smoking silently. She walked a few steps and said, "Boss has woken up and wants you to come in." Li Haoran hurriedly extinguished the cigarette. After nodding, he spoke to the two bodyguards beside him in a deep voice. "Wait for me outside." Finished. He followed Kong Xia into the villa's courtyard. The lobby on the first floor. Tan Xiao sat on the sofa and quietly watched Li Haoran walk in. He did not get up, and even his eyes were filled with indifference. Li Haoran came to the front of Tan Xiao and said with a bitter smile, "Mr. Tang, it was indeed my fault last night. But I didn't have the time to apologize because I was in a hurry." Tan Xiao asked lightly, "You came here just to tell me this?" Li Haoran took out a bank card from his pocket and placed it on the coffee table in front of Tan Xiao. Then he respectfully said, "Mr. Tang, please accept this card as an apology. The pin is written on the back." Tan Xiao glanced at the bank card and lightly said, "I'll take it. The enmity between us is written off. Remember, don't let your son appear in front of me again. If I'm in a bad mood one day, I might take his life." Li Haoran's expression changed and he quickly said, "I still have some business in the imperial capital. Tomorrow. No. I'll let him go to the imperial capital to work today. Furthermore, unless it's a festive occasion, I definitely won't let him take half a step back into Shanghai." Tan Xiao sighed and said, "Actually, I'm afraid of trouble. If it's not someone who wants my life, I'm too lazy to act against them. I believe you are well aware of your son's character. Keep him in check. The matter between us can be considered settled, but if he offends someone your Li family can't afford to offend in the future, I'm afraid he won't be so lucky then." Li Haoran forced a smile and said, "Don't worry. I'll definitely discipline him strictly, even if I have to use some special means." Tan Xiao stood up and said, "You don't seem to be in good spirits. You probably haven't slept all night. Go back and rest early." Yes. Li Haoran nodded repeatedly. After Tan Xiao sent him out of the villa, he quickly walked out of the courtyard and left with his two bodyguards. He only heaved a sigh of relief when he left the villa area. Kong Xia, who stood beside Tan Xiao, saw that Tan Xiao didn't pick up the bank card from the beginning to the end. She immediately said with a smile, "Boss, Li Haoran's apology fee should be quite a lot, right? My guess is that there should be more than 1 million. 1 million? Tan Xiao couldn't help but roll his eyes. If it was 1 million, then they were looking down on him too much. Back in Hong Kong, the compensation offered by those families was hundreds of times more than 1 million. Check the amount of money in the card. Take it and use it to develop our magnificent Tang Corporation. Although I'm poor now, I can still get by." Kong Xia couldn't help laughing and said, "Are you still poor, boss? If you were poor, I would definitely be a beggar. However, you should keep this compensation for yourself. Our magnificent Tang Corporation doesn't lack this little bit of money." "You're not going to check how much is in there?" Tan Xiao said with a smile. Kong Xia hesitated for a moment before she nodded and said, "All right, I'll check it." 2 minutes later, Kong Xia looked at the amount displayed on the mobile banking system and carefully checked it twice. A horrified expression appeared on her beautiful face as she raised her hand to cover her mouth. "What's wrong? How much money is in there for you to be scared like this?" Tan Xiao asked with a smile. Kong Xia loosened her hand. Her lips squirmed a few times as she muttered, 1 billion. I've counted that string of zeros twice, and it's absolutely not wrong. It's definitely 1 billion. Li Haoran actually gave 1 billion as compensation? Tan Xiao nodded and said, "At least he knows how to do things. He didn't send me away with a few melons and dates. Just take the money. The stronger the financial resources of our magnificent Tang Corporation, the better the development will be. I heard that it's not a big deal for our company to be spread all over the country. Only when we can enter the international market can we be regarded as a large company." Kong Xia put away her shocked expression, and a bright smile appeared on her beautiful face. After sitting down next to Tan Xiao, she hugged Tan Xiao's neck and kissed his face. Then, she jumped away with a charming smile, raised the bank card in her hand and said, "I originally had a big plan, but I couldn't implement it due to lack of funds. Now that I have 1 billion, I'm sure that I can prepare the preliminary work for the big plan. After our drinks, cosmetics, and healthcare products are officially launched, there will be a steady stream of funds coming in at that time. I believe it won't be a problem to complete my big plan. Tan Xiu touched his cheek and smilingly asked, "What big plan? Tell me about it." "Real estate speculation." Kong Xia blinked and proudly said with a smile. "Real estate speculation?" Tan Xiu was confused. "Since when did our magnificent Tang Corporation have such a business? We don't have it now, but we will have it in the future." Kong Xia proudly smiled and said, "I've sent some people to investigate the big project jointly developed by several forces. The upcoming small new cities' housing prices will definitely soar like a rocket in the future. Therefore, I need to prepare a lot of funds to directly buy a lot of real estate. After hoarding for some time, I'm sure the housing prices will skyrocket, and we can make a lot of money when the time comes." "Isn't this a malicious speculation?" Tan Xiu was surprised. "It's not malicious speculation." Kong Xia shook her head. "We're one of the developers. If we buy it internally, not only will it be cheaper than the auction, it's also our fixed assets. I've sent some people to investigate. Whether it's the Long Group, the 2 companies in the imperial capital, or Miao Wentong and Xiaomingzhen, they won't be able to take out much money to buy internally once the project is over. Perhaps the Ouyang family in Jingmen Island can take out some, but I believe it won't be much. Our magnificent Tang Corporation has only been established for a short time." Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing and said, "Even if all our products hit the market, I'm afraid we won't be able to accumulate much money in a short time, no? Even if we have billions of funds, we won't be able to buy a lot of real estate. I heard that you've decided to set a very high price for the housing there. Boss, even if it's only a few billion, do you think it'll be worth it if we hoard it for some time to make it several times?" Kong Xia said with a smile. "Several times?" Tang Xiu's heart was secretly shaken, and his eyes burst with a bright light. After thinking for a moment, he then said in a deep voice, "Remember to notify me in advance when the big plan starts. I'll try to get a lot of funds for you to operate." "All right." Kong Xia nodded with a smile. Suddenly, she seemed to realize something and curiously asked, "Boss, Li Haoran is a shrewd businessman. How could he compensate us so much money? It's 1 billion. Even if his Li group is big and has a lot of funds, wouldn't 1 billion be enough for them to choke? Do you think 1 billion is a lot?" Tan Xiu chuckled. 2 months ago, I had some conflicts with some famous big families in Hong Kong. The total compensation I got from them is more than 10 billion. I forgot the specific amount, but I'm sure it's more than 10 billion. 10 billion? Kong Xia shuddered inwardly and disbelief was written all over her beautiful face. Suddenly, she screamed and directly rushed to Tan Xiu's side. She grabbed Tan Xiu's arm and hurriedly asked, "Boss, you got so much money? What about the money? Our magnificent Tang Corporation is short on money." Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing and said, "Don't show such a money grubber look, all right? I don't say it, but it's quite cute. You don't need to think about that money. I have a great use for it." Kong Xia stared blankly, and an embarrassed expression appeared on her face. But she still asked, "What did you do? Did you buy the Everlasting Feast Hall?" "The Everlasting Feast Hall is ours to begin with, so there's no need to buy it." Tan Xiu shook his head. "Didn't I tell you? 9 Dragons Island." Kong Xia suddenly sobered up. She patted her head and said with a charming smile, "Look at me, I actually forgot about it. Anyways, boss, I'm really curious. You bought an island, but why did you spend so much money to renovate it?" 9 Dragons Island will be our base camp later," said Tan Xiu. "Base camp? Is it also the Everlasting Feast Hall's base camp?" asked Kong Xia hesitantly. Tan Xiu took a deep breath and said, "I'll take you to the Everlasting Feast Hall's HQ when I have time. You'll know what kind of existence the Everlasting Feast Hall is when you get there." "All right." Kong Xia nodded without a word. After breakfast, Tan Xiu didn't follow Kong Xia to the wine-tasting conference venue, but went to the campus instead. Although the classes had yet to start and the military training had yet to begin, he still decided to take a stroll around the campus. Then he would take the time to refine an interspatial ring while everyone was training. And now, everything was ready to refine an interspatial ring. Only the east wind was missing. And this east wind was time. Strolling around the campus, Tanshio looked at the youthful boys and girls coming and going around him. He seemed to be infected by them and was obviously in a good mood. Honk honk. A car's horn sounded behind him. Tanshio turned his head and saw Yu Yang's BMW slowly following behind him. Big bro Tang, you're back. We brothers were discussing that if you didn't come back, we would go to the Public Security Bureau and report you missing. Yu Yang opened the window and smilingly said. Inside the car, aside from Yu Yang, who was driving, Hu Qingsong was also in the front passenger seat. However, their eyes were red and it was obvious that they didn't sleep well last night. Hey, where did you two go last night? Looking at your dispirited appearance, you didn't have a good rest, did you? Tanshio got into the back seat and asked with a smile. It's all because of Yu Yang, said Hu Qingsong with a northeastern accent. She dragged me to the bar. But, it was quite interesting. Those two girls last night were pretty good. Chapter 377. Tanshio sat comfortably in the back seat and listened to Hu Qingsong's proud laughter. He rolled his eyes and gave him a look of disdain. Fickle. It would not be a big deal if Hu Qingsong hooked up with one girl, but he actually hooked up with two girls at the same time. This was definitely promiscuous. Tanshio was speechless at his behavior. The military training is tomorrow, right? Tanshio smiled and asked. Yukai nodded while driving and said, Yeah, tomorrow. The melting pot of the army will destroy us, the future flowers of our motherland. What a pity. This isn't my father's company, but the famous Shanghai University. Otherwise, I wouldn't have to participate in the military training and suffer. Tell me, should I purposely injure my foot and then apply for leave? No problem. I think your suggestion is very good, said Hu Qing with a smile. However, it was said that during military training, men and women were mixed. That was the best time to pick up girls. If a certain someone were to give up such a heaven-sent opportunity, in the future, he would have to look at us with envy. The injury hurts a lot, so I've decided to participate in the military training. Yukai appeared serious, but in the eyes of others he was shameless. Very soon, the car was parked in front of the dormitory. During this time, they talked about school matters and Xue Chao, who was still hospitalized. After returning to the dormitory, Tanshio glanced at his bed, then sat down in front of his desk. He reached out and grabbed a few textbooks. After casually flipping through them for a while, he decided to bring them back. He wanted to take advantage of the time he had left to revise. Diligence is the path to a mountain of books, and there is no end to the sea of learning. Learn. Make money. Cultivate. This was the path he had set for himself. To him, wasting time was equivalent to wasting his life. Hu Qingsong suddenly turned around to look at Tanshio and asked, All the major clubs in our campus are recruiting new blood. Eldest brother Tang, which society are you planning to join? Society? Tanshio stared blankly for a moment before he shook his head and said, I'm not interested in joining any society. If you have the time, you might as well learn more things. Hu Qingsong grinned and said, Anyways, big bro Tang, are you a young man or not? We young people should be hot-blooded and try new things. I have decided to join the basketball club and the hip-hop club. Why don't you follow me? Yukai turned around and said with a faint smile, I say, old Hu, do you really want eldest brother Tang to join the hip-hop club with you? Based on his flirting skills, if he really joined the hip-hop club, I'm afraid the pretty girl you're interested in wouldn't even look at you again, right? Who knows, maybe when the time comes, she'll throw herself at eldest brother Tang. Hu Qingsong's expression froze for a moment before he suddenly sobered up. He waved his hand and said, Just pretend that I didn't say anything just now, big bro Tang. Tanshio didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Can you stop talking nonsense? What flirting? What do you mean by throwing yourself at me? Your thoughts are not healthy. Big bro Tang, we only have unhealthy thoughts, but your mind and body are both unhealthy. Yukai chuckled. Speaking of which, with so many beauties liking you, can your small body take it? Tang Xiu rolled his eyes and didn't bother to pay attention to him. Yu Kai chuckled and said, "Big bro Tang, let's make it clear first. You can join any club, but don't join the music club. I'll save those beautiful girls in our music club." Tan Xiu got up. He was now convinced by his dormitory buddies. Each and every one of them was like the reincarnation of perverts. They came here to study, but not to study at all. Instead, they looked like they came here to find their wives. If they had this free time, they might as well go to the matchmaking agency. Shaking his head, he took a few books and walked out of the dormitory. Just focus on hooking up with those girls. I won't participate in the military training, and I won't come to campus again if there's nothing going on. Just call me if you need anything. You won't participate in the military training? Yu Kai and Hu Qingsong were dumbfounded. They only reacted after seeing Tan Xiu walk out of the dormitory's door. Hu Qingsong dashed out of the dormitory's door and looked at Tan Xiu leaving in the corridor. Then he shouted, "Big bro Tang, will the campus approve your decision not to participate in the military training?" "It's approved." Tan Xiu waved without looking back and turned into the corridor. Standing at the dormitory's door, Hu Qingsong turned his head to look at Yu Kai. His lips squirmed twice as he sighed. Truly worthy of being Big Bro Tang. This ability. When Tan Xiu left campus, he called Miao Wentong and learned that he had contacted Dao Master Z. Now Dao Master Z was rushing to Shanghai with his apprentice. Tan Xiu was secretly relieved. He hoped to refine an interspatial ring as soon as possible. Once it was refined, he would no longer have to worry about carrying his belongings. Moreover, he would no longer have to worry about losing the good things he had obtained. Of course, he also had another idea. After the interspatial ring was refined, there should be a lot of precious materials left. When the time came, he could conveniently refine a handy weapon. After a few fights, although the Mitsubishi Army knife was sharp, it was not convenient for him. He couldn't even store it inside his body. "Let's go to the hospital." After leaving the campus, Tan Xiu stopped a taxi outside and went straight to Shanghai's first public hospital, Shanghai World Trade Convention and Exhibition Center. At the moment, the number 0246 counter of the venue was already crowded with people. All the people who came to participate in the wine tasting conference had heard the name God's Nectar. They also knew that the 7 judges held it in high esteem. Therefore, countless people wanted to taste the taste of God's nectar. If it was good, almost all the liquor wholesalers were willing to buy it wholesale. Before, no one showed interest in the number 0246 counter. But now, the clamor of the crowd was boiling as countless people came over to curry favor. The two diametrically opposed situations made Kong Xia's self-confidence stronger. Sun Quan and several other employees also felt happy. "Now, I'm issuing a notice to all liquor wholesalers to wait outside. All factory staff, please wait at your counter. Friends from the media, please prepare to record. The wine tasting competition will soon begin." Immediately, dozens of venue security personnel quickly came to the venue and asked all the liquor wholesalers to wait outside. Then, they supervised the dozens of media reporters to prevent them from making trouble for the interview. Another voice came from the broadcast. "Friends, there are a total of 260 merchants participating in the wine tasting competition. Next, there will be 7 judges tasting the wines from various manufacturers. However, because there are too many wines to taste, the 7 judges will be divided into 7 groups, sharing the 260 wines. They will judge the 5 winners. And then the 7 judges will taste them together and finally give the result." Shanghai First People's Hospital. Tan Xiu came to Xuechao's ward and saw that only 2 of the 3 beds were occupied. One of them was empty. He smiled and looked at Xuechao, who was sitting on the bed with a frown. "Did you encounter a problem? Why do you look like this?" Tan Xiu walked to the end of the bed and asked with a smile. Xuechao looked up and saw Tan Xiu. It was as if he saw his savior. However, he opened his mouth and hesitated several times. Eventually, he lowered his head and silently shook his head. Tan Xiu put the fruits he brought to the side and sat on the empty bed. He then said with a smile, "Xuechao, we'll be classmates in the future. Moreover, we're roommates. Just tell me if there's anything. If I can help, I won't say a word. Xuechao's lips squirmed a few times. He hesitantly looked at Tan Xiao and then probed. Do you have money? Tan Xiao said with a smile, a little. Xuechao quickly said. Then can you lend me some money? Tan Xiao, please don't misunderstand me. I know this is the second time we meet. It's not good for me to borrow money from you. But I don't have any other way. If I can't borrow money, my wife and child won't be able to eat. Wife and child. Tan Xiao blinked and said with a strange expression. You mean, not only do you have a wife, but you also have a child? Xuechao nodded and said with a forced smile. Yeah, my wife is my high school classmate. We had our wedding after graduating from high school. Although we haven't officially gotten the marriage certificate, my son is almost a year and a half old. Originally, with my family's conditions, I couldn't come to Shanghai to study. But my wife forced me to come to Shanghai to study. She told me that if I couldn't successfully finish my university studies, she would take my son and go far away, never to see me again. Tan Xiao said. Xuechao, I know you came from the mountains. Your wife and child are still in the mountains, right? Xuechao forced a smile and said. If they were still in the mountains, I wouldn't have to worry about food and drink. Even if I go to the mountains to dig some wild vegetables, I can still fill my stomach. But the day before yesterday, she took my son to Shanghai to look for me. I've been staying in the hospital for the past 2 days. What about them? Tan Xiao asked. Xuechao sighed. I only have 60 yuan left. I'll give it to them to buy something to eat. Even if those 60 yuan can last for today and tomorrow, what will happen the day after tomorrow? How will I live in the future? I understand. Tan Xiao said. You can rest assured about the money. Since they came to Shanghai, you must take good care of them. However, they should know about your situation. Why did they come to Shanghai? Also your parents. Xuechao sighed. Forget it. I might as well tell you. My wife's family disliked me for being poor, so they didn't agree to let us get married. My wife quarreled with them, and we finally held the wedding. However, she couldn't get any help from her family. As for my family, apart from my mother, I have no other relatives. My son got sick after I came to Shanghai. Although he took some medicine, he still hasn't recovered yet. It's been 3 or 4 days. If I can't get the money, I'm afraid he'll be burned to death. Chapter 378. Tan Xiao didn't speak again. Instead, he took out his wallet, took out more than 3,000 yuan, and stuffed it into Xuechao's hand. Then he said, I only brought this much cash with me. You take it and spend it first. I'll come to see you again in 2 days, and then I'll take some money and bring it to you. Xuechao gratefully looked at Tan Xiao and said, That's enough. This is enough. Big bro Tang, words can't express my gratitude to you. I'll remember this favor. After my injury is healed, I'll look for a part-time job. I'll definitely return the money to you as soon as possible. Tan Xiao shook his head and said, You don't need to hurry to return it. Several thousand yuan is nothing to me. Your priority is to study and support your family. So be it. I'll introduce you to a job after your injury is healed. You can work there every Saturday and Sunday to earn money. Xuechao was pleasantly surprised and said, You have an acquaintance? Will they give you a lot of money? Xuechao was surprised and said, Yeah, an acquaintance. Tan Xiao said with a smile, I'll introduce you to them. I'm the one who recommended you. For my sake, I'm sure you'll be able to earn more than working elsewhere. Xuechao quickly nodded and said gratefully, Thank you, big bro Tang. Tan Xiao shook his head with a smile and said, There's no need for polite words between us. However, don't tell Yu Kai and the others about me lending you money and helping you find a job. Why? Xuechao was confused. Tan Xiao said with a smile, There's no why. In short, don't mention these things in front of them. Also, I can see that you're an honest and straightforward person. I hope you can keep your heart pure and kind after coming to a metropolis like Shanghai. Don't be blinded by the colorful world of this metropolis and get your heart confused. Xuechao scratched his head and said with a smile, No, I won't. My mom said that it's easy to change mountains and rivers, but hard to change a person's nature. My character has been fixed, and I still have to support my family. How can I be blinded by this colorful world? Actually, I know what you mean. Yu Kai and the others seem to have good families. You don't want me to compare with them, right? Tang Xiu let out a faint smile. Just as he was about to speak, a girl who looked to be around 22 or 23 years old came in from the ward's door. Her skin was very white, her figure was a bit thin and weak, and there was a bit of worry on her delicate face. She was holding a 1 or 2-year-old child in her arms. Wan said. Let me introduce you. This is my college classmate, Tang Xiu. I heard the other classmates in the dormitory call him Boss Tang. Wan is and she's my son. Wan. She's holding my son in her arms. Xue Chao had already put away the money as he sat there, and said with a smile. Essen want. And said. Ts and said. Upon seeing Tang Xiu, Wan was a bit nervous, but she still hurriedly said, Hello, thank you. Tang Xiu thought for a moment. Then he turned to Xue Chao and said, How about you leave the hospital earlier? I'll arrange a place for you outside the campus, so that your child doesn't have to stay in the hospital all the time. You also know that the hospital has all kinds of people, but it's full of germs. It's harmful to the child's growth. Upon hearing it, Xue Chao hesitated and said, Eldest brother Tang, this isn't good, right? You've already helped me a lot. It's all right, Tang Xiu said with a smile. As the saying goes, do a good deed to the end. Since you admit that you owe me a favor, then you might as well owe me more. Xue Chao was silent for a moment. Then he nodded and said, All right then. Where are you going to arrange us? Actually, I have a place to live outside the campus. You can move there and live with me, Tang Xiu said with a smile. We can take care of each other in this way. Your place, can we live there? Asked Xue Chao. Don't worry, Tang Xiu said with a smile. Just a few more people can live there. All right, I'll let Wanzi handle the discharge procedures for me, said Xue Chao. Tang Xiu took Xue Chao's son with a smile. The child was not shy at all. Instead, he smiled at Tang Xiu. However, his body was a bit hot, which made Tang Xiu's expression slightly change. Wait a moment, Xue Chao. I'll let the doctor take his temperature again. We have to treat the child's illness before we leave. After saying that, Tang Xiu took the child and left the ward. He called the nurse in the corridor outside, and asked her to take the child's temperature. After finding that the child only had a low fever, he suggested physical cooling. As a matter of fact, Tang Xiu himself had medical skills, so he was very clear about the child's condition. He did this to reassure Xue Chao. Half an hour later, Tang Xiu, carrying the 2 big bags in one hand and supporting Xue Chao with the other, left the hospital with Wan and their son. He stopped a taxi outside and quickly rushed to the Blue Star Villa complex. The reason why he let Xue Chao's family live with him in the Blue Star Villa complex was that he wanted to help them. On the other hand, he also wanted them to help take care of the house. At the very least, he could clean the house every day, pack up things, buy some vegetables, and cook a meal. It was said that the children of the poor matured early. He believed that whether it was Xue Chao or Wan, they should be able to cook. In addition, he had already thought that even if he studied at the University of Shanghai, he would have to leave often to deal with other things. The villa was also idle. However, in this case, it would be easy to expose that he was rich. At the entrance of the Blue Star Villa complex. After Tang Xiu paid the fare and helped Xue Chao out, he picked up the 2 bags in the trunk, and then waved to a security guard. Hello, can you use your patrol car to take us home? Asked Tang Xiu. The security guard looked at Xue Chao's family of 3 with a surprised expression. Then he said with a smile, No problem. Mr. Tang, please wait here. I'll call the patrol car immediately. Thank you. Tang Xiu took out a cigarette and found that it had not been opened, so he directly stuffed it into the security guard's hand. Xue Chao was a bit surprised at the moment. He retracted his gaze from the villa complex's entrance and turned to Tang Xiu's face, asking, Eldest bro Tang, do you live here? Yeah, Tang Xiu said with a smile. Xue Chao opened his mouth, but no words came out. Xue Chao, you don't need to care too much about external things, Tang Xiu said with a smile. Besides, I think you must be thinking that I'm a second-generation rich kid, right? In fact, I'm not a second-generation rich kid because almost everything I own is from my own hard work. I know. Xue Chao nodded. Quickly, the patrol car stopped next to Tan Xiu's group. Two security guards carefully propped Xue Chao up, and then called Tan Xiu and Du Wan to get on the car. It didn't take long for them to arrive at the villa's entrance where Tan Xiu lived. Tan Xiu thanked them and watched the patrol car leave. Then he opened the courtyard's door and led Xue Chao's family of 3 into the villa's courtyard. Wow. It's really magnificent. Du Wan was a bit excited. She had never seen such a magnificent villa. It's just like the ones on TV. It's really grand and magnificent. Xue Chao nodded. I really didn't expect that this Xue Chao could live in such a magnificent house. Tan Xiu said with a smile. We're still young. As long as you work hard to make money in the future, I'm sure you'll be outstanding one day. At that time, you can buy a more luxurious villa for your wife and children. All right. Xue Chao nodded heavily. After entering the villa, even though Xue Chao and Du Wan had fantasized about how luxurious it would be inside, they were still shocked and speechless for a long time after seeing the decoration inside. Xue Chao, you're injured, so you'll live on the first floor. There are several guest rooms on the first floor. You and your wife can choose one. Tan Xiu helped Xue Chao to sit on the sofa and said with a smile. Xue Chao nodded and said, All right. We'll choose one later. That's right, can we take a bath here? I've been in the hospital for 5 or 6 days, and I haven't had a chance to take a bath. Tan Xiu said with a smile. Yes, there's a bathroom on the first floor. You'll know after you stroll around. That's right, you're older than me, so I'll call you wife and sister-in-law. Sister-in-law, do you know how to cook? If you do, we can buy vegetables and cook at home later. Du Wan quickly said. I can, and so can Xue Chao. Tan Xiu said with a smile. All right. I'll hand over this glorious and great matter of cooking to you later. I'll give you the house key later. Half an hour later, Xue Chao and Du Wan had chosen a room. The husband and wife held their child and chatted inside. Wan, take this several thousand yuan. Du Wan stared blankly for a moment before she asked in surprise. Hubby, where did you get this money? I borrowed it from Tan Xiu, said Xue Chao. Du Wan hesitated for a moment before she took it and said, We don't have any money now, so we borrowed money from him. We must work hard in the future to earn money and return it to him. Also, he let us live in his house, so we must remember this favor. We must repay him when we have a good life in the future. Xue Chao nodded and said, I know. Tan Xiu is a good person. Whoever is good to us will be good to him in the future. All right. In the study room on the second floor, Tan Xiu took 2 sets of keys. One of them was the key to this villa, and gave it to Xue Chao and his wife. The other one was the key to his other villa in Shanghai, because he was about to treat Dao Master Zi's disciple, so he must have a place when the time came. If Xue Chao and his wife didn't live here, it wouldn't be a problem to have them come over. But now that there were outsiders, he could only choose another place. After packing up, Tan Xiu dialed Ji Qimei's phone number and arranged to meet her at the Everlasting Feast Hall. After bidding farewell to Xue Chao and Du Wan, Tan Xiu directly left the house. His current cultivation was limited, and he couldn't cast many magical spells and supernatural powers. Moreover, he didn't know the specific situation of Dao Master Zi's disciple. Therefore, for the sake of insurance, he asked Ji Qimei to rush over from Jingmen Island. As long as my cultivation improves, I'll be able to cast a lot of magical spells. Although the star force in my body won't be able to support me for a long time, and I can only cast a few magical spells, it's still better than nothing. Chapter 379. Shanghai World Trade Convention and Exhibition Center. The 7 judges, who were accompanied by media reporters, stopped in front of the counters and tasted various brands of drinks. However, since there were many drinks to be tasted, they only tasted and gave pertinent comments in order to prevent themselves from getting drunk. Time fleeted by. Surrounded by the crowd, Du Kuan came to the 0246 counter and watched Kong Xia open the bottle cap of God's nectar and pour it into a glass. Suddenly, the smile on his face turned a bit brighter. Finish it. Du Kuan looked at the video recorder in his hand and said with a smile, My evaluation is the same as before. This wine should only exist in the heavens. How many people in the world can smell it? If the price of God's nectar wasn't set so high, I would be worried about the other domestic wine industry. Now, I want to tell everyone that this wine is good, but you must act according to your capabilities. If you don't have the strength, don't be greedy even if this wine is a delicacy in the world. After saying that, he turned to look at Kong Xia and said with a smile, Chief Kong, I'm very optimistic about this God's nectar. If you have any problems in this regard in the future, you can directly look for me. I'll help you solve it. Thank you. Kong Xia slightly bowed and thanked him with a smile. At this time, the media reporters in the surroundings had been ignited by Du Kuan's words. Each and every one of them looked excited as they recorded Du Kuan's words without missing a word, and sent it back to the headquarters as fast as possible. Outside the venue, the scene was also broadcasted on the 7 big screens, and was seen by a large number of liquor wholesalers below. Many of them used their mobile phones to record the scene just now, preserving the scene of today's God's Nectar becoming an instant hit. Many people had now begun to inquire about the details of the magnificent Tang Corporation, hoping to get acquainted with the company's top executives, and use their connections to buy a lot of God's Nectar to make a big profit. Shanghai's Southfield Villa Complex. According to the address, Tan Xiu drove here. There were 4 cars in the garage, and he let Kong Xia drive one of them. It was his first time driving one. After registering at the gate post, he came to the villa. After entering, he found that although this villa was slightly worse than the one in Blue Star Villa Complex, it was still a high-end villa. After parking the car, Tan Xiu took out a black suitcase from the trunk. Inside the suitcase were the precious ores used to refine interspatial rings. The main materials were void crack stone, wintertide fluorite, and star fragment stone. As for the other auxiliary materials, Tan Xiu had already prepared them, but there were too many of them, so he didn't bring them over from Star City. Those things were easy to buy, so he had already decided to buy another batch before he started refining the spatial ring. Very soon, Ji Qimei hurried over and met Tan Xiu. From Tan Xiu, she learned the reason why he called her over. Lord, I don't know much about the goo on Earth, but I believe that there is no goo poison in this world that I can't solve, so you can rest assured that I will go all out. Ji Qimei respectfully said. Tan Xiu smiled and said, I believe you too. The other party will probably arrive in less than half a day. You should wait here first. Yes. Ji Qimei replied. When it was close to noon, Tan Xiu received a call from Miao Wentong. He learned that Miao Wentong had brought Dao Master Zi and his disciple to the entrance of the Southern Field Villa Complex. Immediately after, Tan Xiu called the villa complex's gate sentry post and let them pass. Brother Tang, I've lived up to your expectations. I've brought Dao Master Zi and his disciple. Whether you can get what you want or not, it depends on your ability. Miao Wentong smiled as he cupped his fists toward Tan Xiu. Tan Xiu nodded with a smile. He then looked at Dao Master Zi and said with a smile, Dao Master Zi, we meet again. You don't seem to be in good spirits. You must be tired from the long journey and haven't had a good rest, right? Dao Master Zi forced a smile and said, As long as I can cure my disciple, I'm willing to do it even if it's tiring and bitter. Benefactor Tang, let's hurry up and treat her. You can rest assured that as long as my disciple's goo poison can be removed, I'll immediately give you my furnace. After saying that, he went to the rear door and carefully took out a big bundle covered with a yellow cloth from the inside, and handed it to Tan Xiu. Tan Xiu didn't open it but looked at the young man standing beside Dao Master Zi, who was also wearing a Taoist robe. This young man looked handsome, but his complexion was pale and his lips were faintly purple. There was a black vertical line in the middle of his eyebrows. Please come in, Tan Xiu calmly said. Miao Wentong and Dao Master Zi curiously looked at Ji Qimei, who was following behind Tan Xiu. Her eyes were looking at her nose as if she didn't intend to pay attention to them. But seeing that Tan Xiu didn't introduce her, they could only suppress the doubts in their hearts and followed behind Tan Xiu. Dao Master Zi, you and Brother Miao wait outside. We'll go inside and check his condition. Tan Xiu didn't want to waste time in order to get the furnace as soon as possible. All right. Dao Master Z nodded. A minute later, Tan Xiao and Ji Qimei brought the young man to a room. Ji Qimei looked at Tan Xiao and found that Tan Xiao nodded to her. She immediately said, "Take off your clothes and lie on the bed." Yes. The young man followed Ji Qimei's instructions. After taking off his clothes, he obediently lay on the bed in silence. Ji Qimei raised her hand and pressed on the young man's 3 major acupoints, Ling Tai, Zhong and Mingmen. Along with the movement of her fingers, a surprised look appeared on the young man's old face. "Rise." Ji Qimei flipped her hand, and the young man's body floated up. In a flash, Ji Qimei's figure floated up as her feet stood in the air. Her hands constantly patted the young man's back and abdomen. After more than a minute, she floated down. "How is it?" Tan Xiao saw the young man's body fall back on the bed and quickly asked. Ji Qimei stretched out her hand to knock the young man out and respectfully said, "Lord, I've seen the goo poison inside his body. I once fought with a devil named Ancestor Blackheart in the Immortal world. He's an expert in all kinds of goo techniques. At that time, he killed a lot of people and planted this goo poison in them." "What's the name of this goo poison?" Tan Xiao curiously asked. "It's the heart and brain goo," said Ji Qimei with all seriousness. "It's an extremely vicious goo poison. This goo poison can release a natal star line that connects the brain and heart meridians. Once this natal star line is broken, the person implanted with the heart and brain goo will immediately die. Furthermore, this goo poison will always release a toxin that erodes the person's blood essence and bone marrow. However, the person who planted this goo poison on him is very poor, and the effect of the heart and brain goo poison isn't very good, so he can live until now." Tang Xiao asked the question that concerned him the most. "Can you cure him?" "I can cure him, but I need something." Ji Qimei nodded. "What is it?" asked Tan Xiao. "The crepe myrtle warming talisman," said Ji Qimei. Tan Xiao furrowed his brows and forced a smile. "Have you already calculated that I can use this ancient talisman?" "Lord, you once roamed the immortal world unhindered with countless magical powers," Ji Qimei said with a smile. "This subordinate status was low at that time. Even though I have heard a lot of glorious deeds of Lord, I didn't know that you could make the crepe myrtle warming talisman." "I can make a crepe myrtle warming talisman," Tan Xiao said with a smile. "But my current cultivation is limited. Even if I exhaust all the power in my body, I'm afraid I can only make one a day. Moreover, the effect will be greatly reduced. I don't know if it still has any effect on you." "No problem." Ji Qimei nodded. Having said that, a hesitant expression appeared on her face. After sensing it, Tan Xiao asked, "What do you want to say?" A strange light flashed in Ji Qimei's eyes as she said, "Boss, I suspect that Earth and the immortal world are inextricably linked. After all, this kind of poison is extremely rare even in the immortal world. Further, ever since I came to Earth, I found that many things here are peerless treasures in the immortal world." Tan Xiao had long been aware that Earth and the immortal world had some kind of special connection, so he nodded and said, "Actually, I'm also aware of what you said. However, there are only a few people who cultivate nowadays, and the few I know don't know many secrets of the cultivation world. So I'm afraid we won't be able to find anything even if we want to investigate. Perhaps some people on Earth once had some connection with the immortal world, or maybe some cultivators on Earth ascended to the immortal world and used their divine powers to send things from the immortal world back. In short, there are all kinds of possibilities." "Do you want me to secretly investigate it?" asked Ji Qimei. "Maybe there will be an unexpected discovery." Tan Xiao shook his head and said, "Don't investigate it for the time being. Your most important task is to protect Yen's safety and refine some medicinal pills. As for other matters, it won't be too late to investigate them after I've completely cured Yen. "All right," Ji Qimei respectfully said. "Go buy the materials to engrave the talisman," Tan Xiao said. "I'll immediately make the crepe myrtle warming talisman after you buy it." "Understood." Along with Ji Qimei's departure, Tan Xiao didn't wake up the comatose youth. Instead, he went to the living room and watched Dao Master Z and Miao Wentong stand up. Then he said, "If you want to treat your disciple, you need a special ancient talisman. I've already told Ji Qimei to buy the materials. After I finish making it, she can start the treatment. Can she really be cured? Dao Master Z was pleasantly surprised. I'm a person who attaches great importance to my promises. If we can't treat her, then I naturally won't try to impress you by smashing my own face at my own cost. Just wait here with peace of mind. Dao Master Z nodded and said with a smile, I've been waiting for a long time. It won't be a problem for me to wait for another half a day. Benefactor Tang, don't you want to see this cauldron furnace? Tan Xiu looked at the cauldron furnace wrapped in a yellow cloth on the tea table. He then walked over and gently untied the yellow cloth. Hiss! When Tan Xiu clearly saw the golden four-legged cauldron furnace, his eyes instantly turned round and he couldn't help but suck in a mouthful of cold air. Today's 5 chapters have been updated. I'm weekly asking for monthly votes. Also, the subscription data is a bit lacking. Brothers and sisters who have the means, please subscribe and support me. Thank you very much. Chapter 380. Before Tan Xiu saw Dao Master Z's cauldron, he had fantasized that Dao Master Z's cauldron quality would be very good, but he never thought that it would be good to this extent. Once, when he was in the immortal world, he had a top-grade immortal cauldron. The weapons and pills refined by that cauldron belonged to the top-grade immortal tools and elixirs. However, just by looking at the appearance of this four-legged cauldron, as well as the surging golden light that was hard to catch with the naked eye, he judged that this cauldron, even if it was not as good as the top-grade immortal cauldron he had used before, it was not much worse. Benefactor Tang, this cauldron is good, right? In the past, I risked my life to break into a mystic realm. Aside from getting a silk scroll, I only got this four-legged cauldron. Unfortunately, it's a bit small, otherwise, I could have refined several good elixirs over the years. Dao Master Z thought that the treasure he had used for decades would soon become someone else's, and his heart ached faintly. Tan Xiu praised, It's really a good cauldron. Dao Master Z said with a smile, I'll say it first. If you can cure my disciple, this four-legged cauldron is yours. If you can't cure him, I'm not willing to give it away. Tan Xiu reached out and gently held the four-legged cauldron. When the star force in his body slowly poured into the cauldron, a golden light suddenly burst out, instantly blinding everyone's eyes. Even Tan Xiu closed his eyes at this moment, feeling a burning pain in his eyes. Puff! Tan Xiu's hands, which were holding the cauldron, were suddenly cut by 2 wind blades. Blood crazily gushed out from his palms, and the golden light on the four-legged cauldron became more intense. Every corner of the villa's hall was flooded with golden light. At the same time, a horrifying and terrifying aura spread out from the four-legged cauldron, bringing along a strong sense of oppression. Even though Dao Master Z and Miao Wentang's cultivation were countless times stronger than Tan Xiu's, they were still forced to retreat by that aura. Only after they were out of the villa's courtyard did they stop with pale faces. What's going on? I have used that cauldron for decades. How come this kind of thing has never happened? Dao Master Z's complexion turned ugly as he said. Miao Wentang said with a wry smile. Shenren, who should I ask if you ask me? That cauldron doesn't belong to me. However, this aura is too terrifying. I have a feeling that if it suddenly explodes, it will definitely blast me into pieces. Dao Master Z said. I also have this feeling. But Tan Xiu? In the living room of the villa, Tan Xiu's body became extremely stiff. To his horror, he discovered that he had lost control of his body. In the wounds on his palms, streams of blood were madly sucked away. In just a few seconds, 2/3 of his blood had been sucked away. Right after that, rays of gentle golden light entered Tan Xiu's body through the wound. Under the supervision of Tan Xiu's divine sense, he found that after his blood had been infused with the golden light, his blood had undergone a special qualitative change. The blood flowing in his veins had gradually turned golden red. This golden light, it's transforming my body. As Tan Xiu's consciousness moved away from his blood, he suddenly discovered something that made him even more speechless. But this speechlessness had yet to end. A special medicinal efficacy suddenly came out from the cauldron. Like 2 torrents, it flowed along his hands and arms as it poured into his body. Heavens! How come there are so many medicinal efficacy? If Tan Xiao could not open his mouth now, he would have probably roared out loud. He found that the 2 medicinal efficacies were extremely huge, to the extent that his body absolutely could not bear it. He even began to worry that his body would explode from these 2 huge medicinal efficacies. However, what he was worried about did not happen. After the 2 medicinal efficacies rushed into his body through his arms, they rushed into his dantian with lightning speed. The stars in his dantian seemed to be affected by the dazzling storm. Sparks splashed as the stars exploded, forming an even more terrifying storm. Boom, boom. Tan Xiao's vision turned black as he directly fainted. However, his body still maintained a standing posture, and the 4-legged cauldron was still spurting out from his hand. At this moment, the golden light released by the 4-legged cauldron slowly dissipated, but the oppressive aura did not disappear. Simple and unadorned golden characters floated out from the cauldron, turning into a long river of ancient runes that continuously merged into Tan Xiao's glabella. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 8 hours had passed. Blue Star Villa Complex. After Kong Xia participated in the wine-tasting conference and led her company's employees to attend the banquet hosted by the Wine Association, she sent Su Quan and the others back to Star City and then drove back here in a hurry. However, she didn't expect that there were 3 more people here. You mean, Tan Xiao let you live here? And you're Tan Xiao's classmate? Kong Xia looked at the family of 3 in front of her and asked. Xue Chao nodded and said, yeah. Xue Chao nodded and said, I'm Tan Xiao's classmate, so I should be his roommate. But I got injured, so he let me move here from the hospital to recuperate. She's my wife, and my son is in my wife's arms. Kong Xia took out her mobile and dialed Tan Xiao's number, but she couldn't get through no matter how hard she tried. Slightly furrowing her brows, she put away her mobile and nodded. Hello, I'm Kong Xia, Tan Xiao's subordinate. Since I can't get through to him and he hasn't come back yet, I'm going to rest first. Are you going to rest here? Xue Chao quickly asked. Kong Xia revealed a smile and asked, Is there a problem? I stayed here last night. Xue Chao quickly shook his head and said with a simple and honest smile, What you just said is really interesting. What do you mean by subordinate? You should be Tan Xiao's girlfriend, right? Our family of 3 will live here in the future. I hope you can forgive us if we disturb you. The smile on Kong Xia's face turned brighter. She was very satisfied with Xue Chao's words of she's Tan Xiao's girlfriend. She then said with a smile, It's all right. Tan Xiao asked you to stay here, so you can stay here. I only come to Shanghai occasionally. After I see him, I'll return to Star City. Usually, I don't stay here. Immediately, Kong Xia turned around and walked upstairs. Looking at Kong Xia's enchanting back, Xue Chao secretly gulped down a mouthful of saliva. He then turned to look at his wife Du Wan, and said in a low voice, Honey, eldest brother Tang is really amazing. His girlfriend is really beautiful. She's much more beautiful than those female stars we see on TV. Du Wan raised her brows. She hugged her son with one hand and twisted his ear with the other. Then, she said with dissatisfaction, Miss Kong is indeed very beautiful. But in your eyes, I want to know who is more beautiful, her or me. My wife is beautiful. My wife is the most beautiful in my heart. Xue Chao said with an embarrassed smile. With a trace of pride, Du Wan released Xue Chao's ear and snorted. If you dare to say she's beautiful, I won't let you off. However, Miss Kong is really beautiful. She's very, very beautiful. I'm afraid that if a man like you can find such a fairy-like girlfriend, the green smoke from your ancestors' graves must be rising, right? I think so too. However, old Master Tang is kind-hearted. If it were someone else who found such a top-notch girlfriend, I would think that that woman is blind. But eldest brother Tang finding such a top-notch girlfriend, I think it's normal. Xue Chao said with a serious expression. Du Wan nodded and said, My mom taught me since childhood that good people will be rewarded with good deeds. Kong Xia came to Tan Xiao's bedroom on the 2nd floor. Looking at the empty room, a sense of loss flashed in her eyes. She originally planned to return to Star City tomorrow. Tonight, she wanted Tan Xiao to accompany her. But now, Tan Xiao was not here, which made her a bit disappointed. However, She wasn't worried about Tan Xiu's safety, because she knew how powerful he was. Because she knew how powerful Tang Xiu was. Anyone who wanted to bully Tang Xiu in this world could only wait to be bullied by him. That guy, where the hell did he go? Kong Xia muttered and immediately went to the cloakroom. She picked a brand new men's white shirt and slowly walked toward the bathroom door. At this time, Tan Xiu woke up from his coma. He sat cross-legged on the sofa in the villa's hall and stared blankly at the four-legged cauldron. No, it shouldn't be called a four-legged cauldron anymore. It should be called the Demon God Spirit Devourer Cauldron. After he woke up, he found that there were a lot of things in his mind. He knew that this Demon God Spirit Devourer Cauldron was once the most precious treasure of the God Realm's super powerhouse, Archdevil Jialuya. He also knew that Jialuya was born on Earth countless eras ago. At that time, Earth was not like this. He even knew that Earth was thousands of times bigger than it was now, and there were countless immortal cultivators on it. What a pity! Later on, Earth was destroyed due to a great war. Countless powerful beings left, leaving only some weak ones who gradually declined in the long river of time. As for what happened after that, he didn't know because Jialuya later broke through and became a demon god and lived in the god and devil realms. Tens of billions of years later, Jialuya was plotted against by his enemies and eventually ended up with his soul dispersing. As for how this demon god spirit devourer cauldron ended up on Earth, Tang Xiu didn't get any information about it. Moreover, although the demon god spirit devourer cauldron was once the most precious treasure among the divine tools, he didn't know why its tool spirit had disappeared without a trace. Now it was only comparable to an ordinary immortal tool at best. Unless the demon god spirit devourer cauldron regenerated its tool spirit, it could slowly recover to its peak. Tan Xiu heaved a long sigh of relief. With a shake of his wrist, the demon god spirit devourer cauldron instantly disappeared in front of him. Tan Xiu observed with his spiritual sense that the demon god spirit devourer cauldron had been stored in his left palm. My cultivation has unexpectedly improved by a big level, reaching the peak of the bone transformation stage. I only need to go one step further to reach the bone transformation stage. This time, the benefits are really too great. If Ji Qimei can't completely cure Dao Master Zi's disciple, it would be really hard for me to explain myself. Tan Xiu's cultivation has finally advanced by a big level. Brothers and sisters, let's raise our monthly and recommendation votes. Chapter 381. Tan Xiu's thought swept through his dantian. The stars inside had disappeared, and were replaced by a black hole whirlpool that exuded a terrifying aura. Even Tan Xiu was aware of what was behind the black hole whirlpool. The feeling of power. Tan Xiu clenched his fists. He had a feeling that he could smash a house with just one punch. Moreover, as the star force surged according to the circulation route of the heavenly art of cosmic genesis, a steady stream of star force gushed out from the black hole in his dantian. It was as if the black hole whirlpool was connected to the star force emitted by countless stars in the vast universe. Benefactor Tang, Dao Master Z and Miao Wentong rushed in from outside the door. When they saw Tan Xiu sitting cross-legged on the sofa, Dao Master Z couldn't help but call out. Miao Wentong also hurriedly asked, "Eldest brother Tang, are you alright? What happened before? That aura was too terrifying." Tan Xiu faintly smiled. His eyes looked at the two people, and found that Ji Qimei's expression was unchanged. She was holding something and had arrived behind the two people. "I'm fine. It's just that because my cultivation technique is special, I have a special connection with the demon god spirit devourer cauldron, so it has been refined by me. Dao Master Z, if my men can't cure your disciple in the end, I'm afraid I won't be able to return the demon god spirit devourer cauldron to you. At most, I'll compensate you in other ways." Tan Xiu said with a helpless expression on his face. Dao Master Z frowned as he looked at Tan Xiu's expression. Seeing that Tan Xiu didn't seem to be joking, he slowly asked, "Benefactor Tang, I've used that cauldron for decades and used it to refine a lot of pills. But I've never used it before. I want to know what kind of existence is this demon god spirit devourer cauldron you speak of?" Tan Xiu chose to conceal it. Although his current cultivation had a breakthrough, he was still not Dao Master Z's opponent. In case the other party knew that the demon god spirit devourer cauldron was a divine tool, he would disregard face and try to snatch it. If that happened, he would only have a dead end. However, but on second thought, he suppressed this idea because Jichime was here. If Dao Master Z dared to make a move against him, perhaps he would be killed by Jichime with just a flip of her hand. I'd better choose to hide it, so that he won't have a knot in his heart. After Tanshio's thoughts raced, he slowly said, "That cauldron is called the Demon God Spirit Devourer Cauldron. It used to be a spiritual tool, but unfortunately, the artifact spirit in the Demon God Spirit Devourer Cauldron has long been extinguished. Now it can only be regarded as a cauldron more suitable for alchemy or refining. The scene you saw before was a mark left behind by the artifact spirit before it disappeared. I used my power to activate it. Speaking of which, it has brought me quite a lot of benefits. At the very least, it has allowed my cultivation to improve once again." Hearing this, Dao Master Z secretly felt somewhat bitter in his heart. However, he was even more aware of the difference between his disciple and the Demon God Spirit Devourer Cauldron. "Benefactor Tang, since the Demon God Spirit Devourer Cauldron has chosen you, it's your destiny. I hope that you can do your best to save my disciple. As I said, as long as you can cure him, this Demon God Spirit Devourer Cauldron is yours." Tanshio slowly nodded. He then looked at Jichime and asked, "Are the things I want ready?" Jichime said, "Everything is ready. You can start at any time." Tanshio stood up and took everything from her hands. Then he said, "All of you wait for me downstairs. I'll go upstairs to make the talisman. After I'm done, I can start to save your disciple." "All right," Dao Master Z replied. 3 hours later, Tanshio finally succeeded in making the crepe myrtle warming talisman. When he came downstairs, he handed the crepe myrtle warming talisman to Jichime and seriously said, "Next, it's up to you. Don't let me down." "Don't worry." Jichime nodded and took the crepe myrtle warming talisman to the room. Dao Master Z was surprised and asked, "Benefactor Tang, you're not going with me?" Tanshio shook his head and said, "With her taking action, it's the same whether I go or not. The one who will expel the goo poison is her, not me." Dao Master Z curiously said, "Benefactor Tang, can I ask you something?" "Who is?" "She's my subordinate," Tanshio said. Dao Master Z's expression changed as a bit of dread was revealed in his eyes. The first time he saw Jichime, he felt that she was a deep threat to him. But what puzzled him the most was that Jichime seemed to be an ordinary old lady without the least bit of cultivation. Miao Wentong said, "Brother Tang, your subordinate is really amazing. If my guess is correct, her cultivation is much higher than mine and Dao Master Z's. I'm afraid she has already reached a level that we can only look up to. Am I right?" Tanshio said with a smile, "She's indeed very powerful. She can easily break through the 1,000 revolution array with her own strength." "What?" Miao Wentong involuntarily exclaimed. Even Dao Master Z's complexion greatly changed. Both of them were very clear about the power of the 1,000 revolution array. The reason why Tanshio was able to break through so many layers was because he was proficient in arrays. But the old lady Tanshio said could easily break through the entire 1,000 revolution array by relying on her own strength. So to speak, that old lady's strength was at least dozens of times stronger than them, maybe even hundreds of times stronger. Tanshio faintly smiled as he turned around and sat on the sofa. He didn't chat with Dao Master Z and Miao Wentong. Instead, he sat cross-legged on the sofa and silently sensed the situation of the Demon God Spirit Devourer Cauldron inside his body. At the same time, he also circulated the star force in his meridians to stabilize his own realm. Although he had reached the peak of the bone transformation stage, and his bone density had increased by dozens of times, his toughness had also increased by dozens of times. But he had suddenly reached this stage, so his foundation was somewhat unstable and his realm was unstable. 10 minutes later, Jichime calmly walked out of the room. Behind her, Dao Master Z's disciple's complexion was faintly rosy. "Jingyi, how is it?" Dao Master Z came in front of his disciple and hurriedly asked. The youth called Jingyi faintly smiled as he cupped his hands and said, "Thank you, Master, for sparing no effort for this disciple." You didn't even hesitate to take out a precious treasure to ask someone to help me expel the goo poison. The goo poison in my body has been expelled. Dao Master Zi's eyes lit up as he said with an excited expression. Good, good, good. It's good that it's been expelled. You must not easily provoke others in the future. There are countless eccentric people in this world. If you encounter a similar situation one day, I don't know how to save you. Jingyi respectfully said. This disciple will solemnly follow Master's teachings. I won't dare to do it again in the future. Dao Master Z nodded with satisfaction. He suddenly had a feeling that experiencing this matter was perhaps the best tempering for this disciple of his. Even though the price he paid was a bit big, there's a saying in the secular world, spending money to buy a lesson. He sighed inwardly and immediately turned to look at Tan Xiao. Tan Xiao opened his eyes as a smile hung on his face and said, Dao Master Z, since the goo poison in your disciple's body has been expelled, it means that the demon god spirit devourer cauldron is mine. Dao Master Z nodded and said, It's yours. Tan Xiao laughed as he looked at Ji Qimei and said, You've done a good job. Have a good rest and then go back to Jingmen Island. Ji Qimei respectfully said, Then this subordinate will take her leave first. If you have any instructions later, just call me. After saying that, she didn't even look at Dao Master Zi and Miao Wentong as she turned around and left the villa. As the saying goes, people are in high spirits when encountering happy events. At this time, Tan Xiao's mood was particularly good. He greeted Dao Master Zi and his disciple, as well as Miao Wentong to sit down. Then he said with a smile, The two of you, it's almost early in the morning. If you're tired, you can rest here. I rarely come here. If you want to stay in Shanghai for some time, you can also stay here. Dao Master Zi shook his head and said, This poor Taoist came in a hurry. There are still a lot of things to do in the Taoist temple. As soon as the sky turns bright, I'll leave with my disciple. Miao Wentong said with a smile. Brother Tang, I won't stay here anymore. I've done what you asked me to do. If you want to thank me, just sell me more God's nectar in the future. I don't know if you know that the God's nectar is very popular now. Major media outlets, so many judges from the Wine Industry Association, as well as many people who love wine, all of them can't wait to buy the God's nectar immediately. Tan Xiao smiled and said, I personally concocted the God's nectar. If the taste is not good, then I really won't have the face to see anyone. If Brother Miao likes it, then I'll sell it to you at the previous price later. Miao Wentong grinned and said, You sold it to me at the previous price, but that's a loss. As far as I know, the price of a bottle of God's nectar is much more expensive than the 10,000 yuan per bottle you said before. Let alone me, just the few of them will probably earn a lot. Tan Xiao said with a smile. I made a mistake and forgot that the price of the God's nectar has been reset by the group's top executives. However, it doesn't matter. With our relationship, we don't care about money. Dao Master Z curiously said. Is the God's nectar really that good to drink? How about selling some to me? About that, I'll say it first. This poor Taoist is very poor. I'm afraid I don't have too much money. Since Tan Xiao had taken such a big bargain from Dao Master Z today, he immediately waved his hand and said with a heroic spirit, Dao Master Z, with our friendship, do we still need to talk about money? How about this, if you pass by Star City on your way back, just stop there. I'll ask someone to get you hundreds of bottles of God's nectar for you to take away. Dao Master Z forced a smile and said, Benefactor Tang, there's no need for that much. We, master and disciple, have been living deep in the mountains for a long time, so we can't take away that much wine. You only need to give me 8 or 10 bottles, and that's enough. Tan Xiao said with a smile. No problem. You can directly tell the person in charge of the winery how much you want. Dao Master Z stood up and said, Such being the case, this poor Taoist thanks a lot. Now that the poison in my disciple's body has been expelled, we'll take our leave. I'll also take my leave. Miao Wentong also stood up. Chapter 382. By the time Tan Xiao returned to the Blue Star Villa complex, the eastern sky had already turned bright. Despite not sleeping all night, he was still full of spirit at the moment. What he didn't expect was that Xuechao's wife, Duan, had already woken up and was busy in the kitchen. Sister-in-law, you're up so early. Tan Xiu greeted her with a smile, and prepared to go to the second floor to change his clothes. Wearing an apron, Duan turned her head and smilingly said, I'm used to getting up early at home. Eldest brother Tang, a woman came last night. She should be your girlfriend, right? Girlfriend? Thinking of Kong Xia, Tan Xiu just smiled and didn't explain. He nodded and said, I got it. Sister-in-law, don't play with me like Xue Chao and the others. Don't call me eldest brother Tang. Just call me Tan Xiu. Alright, you're busy. I'm going upstairs to change my clothes. Alright, go ahead. Come down for dinner later. Duan faintly smiled and turned back to continue cooking. When Tan Xiu came to the bedroom on the second floor, he saw Kong Xia still sleeping soundly in a man's white shirt. Her sleeping posture was very beautiful, curled up on her side like a sleeping kitten. On that absolutely beautiful face, her sensual little mouth would occasionally move, as if she was dreaming of delicious food in her sleep. Hee hee. Tan Xiu faintly smiled and pulled Xia Xia's quilt at the side to cover her. Then he went to the cloakroom to get some clean clothes. After taking a shower, he put them on and walked out of the bathroom. He saw that Kong Xia had already woken up and was leaning on the bed, looking at him with a smile. You're awake? Asked Tan Xiu with a smile. Kong Xia nodded with a smile and asked, Our God's Nectar won the first place in the wine tasting conference. I wanted to celebrate with you last night, but you didn't come back and I couldn't get through to your phone. With a surprised look, Tan Xiu picked up the mobile phone on the TV cabinet and looked at it. Then he said with a smile, No wonder it's been so quiet since last night. It turns out that the phone ran out of battery and automatically shut down. I heard about the God's Nectar. When I passed by the Jinhui Square on my way back in the morning, I saw the media reporting on the wine tasting conference's situation on the big screen in the square. They focused on the God's Nectar, and the response was very good. Which place will you attend the opening ceremony 3 days later? Kong Xia asked with a smile. Tan Xiu shook his head and said with a smile, I won't participate. After all, I'm a student now. It's not good for me to be too high profile. Let's look at the sales for the past 3 days. If the sales are good, I'll hold a celebration party for you. Where will it be held? Asked Kong Xia with a smile. I'll go back to Star City, said Tan Xiu. Kong Xia's eyes lit up and she immediately said with a pleasantly surprised expression, Then it's settled. By the way, is the one living downstairs your classmate? And his wife and children? Tan Xiu nodded and said, That's right. He's a dormitory classmate. That brother was quite impressive. On his first day in Shanghai, he was injured because he was a good Samaritan, and was hospitalized in Shanghai's First People's Hospital. When I visited him yesterday, I found that his life was very difficult. His wife and children also came from the mountains to Shanghai to look for him, so they have been staying in the hospital. So, I let them live here with me. Kong Xia suddenly understood and said with a smile, Those who can act bravely for a just cause are not bad people at least. Do you plan to let them live here forever? That won't happen. Tan Xiu said with a smile, Xue Chao's injury has healed. I'm afraid he'll have to live in the campus dormitory. As for his wife and children, we'll see how he'll arrange them. All right, let's not talk about them. Since you're awake, don't stay on the bed. Go wash up and let's go downstairs to have breakfast. Did you buy breakfast? Kong Xia asked with a smile. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, It's Xue Chao's wife. She's making breakfast downstairs. Kong Xia suddenly understood. After entering the bathroom, she came out wearing pajamas 10 minutes later. Because she had brought her luggage from the hotel yesterday, she took out a set of clean and tidy clothes and put them on. When she went downstairs with Tan Xiu, she asked, I'm going back to Star City tonight. What are you going to do today? Do you want me to accompany you? Tan Xiu pondered for a moment and asked, Do you know the price of iron essence now? I don't know. Kong Xia shook her head. Then forget it. I'll let Qinan handle it. Tan Xiu said. Since you're going to leave tonight, let's go out and buy something. I'm afraid I'll be busy for some time starting today. Busy with what? Kong Xia asked curiously. Refining tools. Tan Xiu said with a faint smile. What is refining tools? Kong Xia asked with a confused expression. Tan Xiao said with a smile, you haven't officially set foot on the path of cultivation, so you naturally don't know what refining tools is. Wait until you can sense the qi in the future. And when you can use it like your own arm, I'll tell you what refining tools is. After saying that, Tan Xiao dialed Qinan's phone and said, help me buy some steel and ores. I'll send you a text message later. Try to buy all of them before tonight, and then send them to the designated place. All right. Qinan happily agreed. Tan Xiao used the mealtime to text the things he needed, as well as the address to be sent to Qinan. After that, he finished eating breakfast with Xue Chao's family of 3. The breakfast was very simple. Baked salted pancakes, cooked millet porridge, and 2 pickled vegetables that were obviously bought from the supermarket. However, in addition to these, everyone also had a boiled egg. Simple. Thrifty. This was the evaluation given by Tan Xiao and Kong Xia inwardly. After eating, Tan Xiao said with a smile, sister-in-law's pancake skills are good. It's very delicious. It seems that I'll have good luck in the future. Tan Xiao, I'm afraid you won't like it. Duan was a bit embarrassed and stammered. Actually, I know that my breakfast is very simple. If it's not to your liking, I'll make something else tomorrow. Sister-in-law, it's actually very good, Tan Xiao said with a smile. I grew up with a hard life. I've lived a life of hunger and satiety, so you don't have to worry about it. Shortly put, I'll eat whatever you eat in the future. Duan finally felt relieved. She smiled and cleaned up the tableware. Then she said, all right, I'll go out to buy some vegetables. Are you going to have lunch at home? I'll be busy for the next few days, Tan Xiao said with a smile. I'm afraid I can't come back for the time being. I'll be back once I'm done with my business. Big Bro Tang, are you going to participate in the military training? Asked Xue Chao. I've asked for a leave, so I won't participate in the military training. Tan Xiao shook his head. Upon hearing this, Xue Chao realized that Tan Xiao probably had something very important to do. He nodded and said, Big Bro Tang, can I ask you a favor? If there's something, just say it. Tan Xiao said. Although I didn't go to the campus to register, the university's leaders have helped me with the registration procedures. I heard from Xue Chao that my textbooks have also been brought to the dormitory. Can you find some time to help me bring my textbooks? I can't waste my time here to recuperate. I've brought my textbooks. You can read mine first. Tan Xiao said with a smile. I'll go to the campus to get them for you after you've finished reading them. All right. Xue Chao said with a smile. Tan Xiao looked at Kong Xia and said with a smile. Come with me to buy some things. They'll be very useful. All right. Kong Xia faintly smiled and greeted Xue Chao and his wife. Then, she and Tan Xiao walked out of the villa's hall. As the garage's electric door opened, the duo casually drove a car and left. Hubby, what a beautiful car. Du Wan, who stood at the door, turned her head and called out to Xue Chao. I'll buy you a good car later, Xue Chao said with a smile. You only know how to brag. Du Wan replied with a smile. Then, she returned to the kitchen and began to wash the dishes. For the whole morning, Tan Xiao took Kong Xia to buy a lot of yellow paper, cinnabar, writing brushes, and other items. They went to several stores and bought all of their stock. In the end, they couldn't even fit in the trunk and could only put it in the back seat. Soon after, the duo arrived at the Southern Division Villa complex. Boss, where are we? Kong Xia curiously looked at the surrounding environment. Her eyes finally fell on the luxurious villa in front, and she couldn't help but ask curiously. This is another property of mine in Shanghai, Tan Xiao said. I have something important to do, so I set this place as the location. Boss, you actually have so many properties in Shanghai? Kong Xia asked with a surprised expression. Tan Xiao said with a smile. My aunt gave me a few, and my dad also helped me buy a few. In any case, I don't need to spend money on these properties. When you have time in the future, when you come to Shanghai again, take these keys and look around. Whichever one you like, you can stay there in the future. With a smile on her face, Kong Xia said, Why do I feel like you're raising me like a canary? However, if you can find someone to manage the magnificent Tang Corporation, You can also raise me like a canary. As for me, I'll have my beauty done every day, take care of the flowers and plants, and then sign up for a cooking class to learn cooking skills. Didn't I say that? If you want to tie a man's heart, you must tie his stomach. I can also. Stop. Tan Xiu snappily glared at Kong Xia. He shook his head and went to the trunk. He moved all the things he bought and put them into the garage of dozens of square meters. Since the garage's door faced the sun and was taller and bigger than the average garage, Tan Xiu chose this place to refine artifacts. After lunch, 4 trucks slowly drove into the villa complex. After stopping outside the villa's courtyard, Qinan got down from the sports car behind the 4 trucks. Boss, I've bought the materials you wanted for you. However, there are still 4 trucks that haven't arrived because the quantity is a bit big. We're loading them now. Qinan came before Tan Xiu and reported. Let the workers unload the goods first. Tan Xiu said. Put the materials for 1 truck into the garage and place it close to the inside. The other 2 trucks can be put in the courtyard. Qinan agreed and asked the movers who came with her to move the materials into the warehouse. Then, she came to Tan Xiu's side and curiously asked, Boss, you bought so many materials. Do you want to reinforce this villa? Tan Xiu lightly smiled and said, No, you don't need to ask. You don't need to ask too much. Send me another 4 carts of materials in 2 days, and that should be enough. Chapter 383. As night fell, the materials from the 8 trucks were finally moved down. 2 of them were sent to the garage, while the rest were piled up in the courtyard. During this period of time, Qi Nanyu had to contact dozens of movers to finish moving the goods. As for Kong Xia, Tan Xiu didn't have time to send her off since she booked a flight ticket in the evening. He could only ask Qi Nan to send her to the airport. Everything was ready. Tan Xiu lit a cigarette. After smoking it, he went to the 2nd floor to take a shower and slept comfortably for 4 to 5 hours. Afterward, he went to the study room where the yellow paper and cinnabar ink were piled up. One must have true fire if he wanted to refine a tool. Tan Xiu used the true fire spell method and found that the star force inside his body could only last for half an hour at most. It was impossible to use the true fire spell method to refine a tool. Therefore, he could only use another method, which was the true fire talisman, and he needed a lot of them. He needed a steady stream of them until the end of the refining process. For the next 2 days, aside from going out to eat something, Tan Xiu only slept for 2 hours every day. The rest of his time was spent on making true fire talismans, or restoring the star force he had consumed. It wasn't until the morning of the 3rd day that he made 108 true fire talismans. Every true fire symbol can burn for 4 hours, which is 4 hours. 108 true fire talismans can last for more than 400 hours. It's enough. Tan Xiu took all the true fire talismans and went outside to the courtyard. He found 2 core experts of the Everlasting Feast Hall waiting in the courtyard. Your task is to guard the courtyard for me. No matter who comes, don't let them disturb me. Remember, if someone tries to break in, don't easily hurt them. Tan Xiu asked Qi Nan to arrange these 2 experts to protect him. Understood. The 2 core experts of the Everlasting Feast Hall nodded at the same time. Tan Xiu hesitated for a moment. He was still a bit worried. After all, he must not be disturbed during the refining process. Otherwise, the refining process might fail and waste the precious materials. He didn't care about wasting ordinary materials, but he couldn't afford to lose 3 precious ores. Where's Qi Nan? Boss, Director Qi is working in the restaurant. Call her here too, said Tan Xiu. I'm going to take a nap. I'll see her when I wake up. Following that, Tang Xiu slept for 12 hours. When he woke up from his deep sleep, he was full of energy, and the star force he had consumed had also been restored. He went downstairs and asked Qi Nan, who had been waiting for a long time, to help him prepare some food. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, he smilingly said, I'm still a bit worried about letting them protect me. What I was about to do was important. Therefore, I hope that you can stay here and personally protect me. Qi Nan said excitedly, Don't worry, boss. I'll definitely not leave your side. Tan Xiu nodded with a smile and walked out of the room to the garage. He turned on the lights in the garage and closed the garage door facing the sun. Go. As Tan Xiao waved his hand, the demon god spirit devourer cauldron in his palm directly flew out. After Tan Xiao sent out a few palm prints, its body began to grow bigger and turned into a 2-meter-high cauldron in the blink of an eye. I'll first refine iron and copper essence, and then forge those ordinary ores. The project of refining an interspatial ring was very big for the current Tan Xiao. Hundreds of tons of materials needed to be completely extracted and purified. He estimated that he could only purify the essence of a fist at most, which could be used for refining. True Fire Talisman burn. Tan Xiao took out a True Fire Talisman and stuffed it into the furnace chamber of the cauldron. He then began to cut the pieces neatly, with each piece weighing dozens of kilograms, and threw them into the furnace. Since he had completely controlled the demon god spirit devourer cauldron, he had already activated the array inside the cauldron. At this moment, with the burning of the True Fire Talisman, if someone could enter the demon god spirit devourer cauldron, they would definitely find that the inside was very big, at least thousands of times bigger than it looked from the outside. The neatly cut iron, copper, and other materials were continuously thrown into the demon god spirit devourer cauldron by Tan Xiao. Half an hour later, after the demon god spirit devourer cauldron was preheated, the furnace chamber inside was plated with a layer of red lightning. The pieces of materials began to smoke and even showed signs of melting. Shuangqing Province, Star City. In the general manager's office of the magnificent Tang Corporation's HQ, Kong Xia crossed her arms and stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, watching the bustling scene outside. Behind her, Scarlet Chong and Su Quan looked a bit perturbed. Although they believed that the god's nectar would definitely be a good start, they had not received the news yet, so they couldn't rest their hearts. Su Quan, how much time is left before the opening? Kong Xia asked without turning her head. Su Quan replied without hesitation. 14 minutes left. The opening ceremony of the specialized stores across the country is about to begin. Kong Xia nodded without a word. She was actually very nervous. After all, the god's nectar was the first product of the magnificent Tang Corporation to start selling. It was related to whether the magnificent Tang Corporation could cause a sensation in the country and gain a huge influence. If it was successful today, then her follow-up plan would be to launch the skincare lotion and the scar removal cream a week later. If the sales of these two products were good, the health products produced by the company would be launched a month later. She was very ambitious. She wanted the majority of the people in the country to often mention the magnificent Tang Corporation or its products in the second half of the year. She wanted to make everyone who mentioned the magnificent Tang Corporation's products couldn't help but give a thumbs up. Time fleeted by. In the blink of an eye, 20 minutes had passed. While Kong Xia, Scarlet Chong, and Su Quan were quietly waiting for the news, the short Andy dashed into the office and shouted, "Chief Kong, we just got the feedback from the Imperial City and Shanghai City. They said that the threshold of our specialized store there is almost broken by the stampede. The 4 branches in the 2 cities have stocked up a total of 24,000 bottles of God's nectar, and they were all sold out in just a few minutes." Ding dong. A notification sound came from Kong Xia's mobile phone. When she opened her WeChat and saw the video that was sent, a bright smile appeared on her beautiful face. The video was shot by a senior manager of the magnificent Tang Corporation and showed the situation at the entrance of one of the stores in the provincial capital. It was crowded. The entrance of the store was so crowded that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Many people tried their best, yet they couldn't even step into the store. What did it mean to be popular? Such a scene could absolutely be called as popular. Scarlet Chong and Su Quan quickly came over and watched the video together. Had it been any other time, they would have never dared to do so. After all, Kong Xia had the absolute right to speak in the magnificent Tang Corporation and had a very strong prestige. But at this moment, they couldn't care about it as they wanted to know the sales situation of the god's nectar. Awesome! After watching the video, Scarblade Chong fiercely waved his arm and sighed. My choice at that time was really wise. Coming to Star City with Boss really gave me a chance to show off my skills. Chief Kong, do you want to add an assembly line? Our winery can only produce tens of thousands of cases of God's nectar every month. I'm afraid the supply will fall short of the demand in the future. Kang Xia was also a bit tempted, but recalling the starvation sales plan formulated by Tan Xiao at that time, she finally suppressed the idea and shook her head. We don't need it. Our magnificent Tang Corporation has invested too much in the beginning. Let's slow down and stabilize the situation first. We'll wait for the large amount of funds to come back, and then we'll talk about expanding the production. Scarblade Chang hesitated for a moment before he nodded and said, Since Chief Kong has decided, then let's do it according to your plan. A glint flashed in Su Quan's eyes as he said, Chief Kong, since our God's nectar is in short supply, I think we can increase the production line once our funds are in place. After all, God's nectar is a kind of liquor, and it's an extremely easily consumed item. Also, we've missed some things before, and we should make up for it this time. What things? Kang Xia was surprised. I recently learned some marketing methods by myself, and found that our business people are inextricably linked with the government, said Su Quan. If there are some people in the officialdom who we can't afford to provoke, and want to get some God's nectar from us through their special relationship, I'm afraid it will affect the operation of our group if we refuse. Kang Xia stared blankly for a moment, before she suddenly came to her senses. She then forced a smile and said, If it wasn't for your reminder, I would have forgotten about this matter. Then, you immediately return to the factory and stock up 1,000 boxes of God's nectar. Even if the exclusive stores across the country are seriously out of stock, we still can't ship these boxes away. No problem. I'll do it. Su Quan nodded. Suddenly, he seemed to recall something and quickly said, Chief Kong, do you want to send some to the capital? For example, the boss's family. Kang Xia hesitated for a moment before she nodded and said, I'll handle this matter myself. You go first. All right. Su Quan quickly left the office with a smile. Scarblade Chang didn't leave. He was still waiting for the sales situation of the exclusive stores in other cities. To his pleasant surprise, half an hour later, all the exclusive stores in all the cities sent back the news that all the God's nectar in their stores were sold out. There were still countless people crowding outside the exclusive stores, clamoring to buy it. Many of them even paid the money in advance to the exclusive stores, hoping that the next batch would be delivered to them immediately. Refuse everyone's request. Kang Xia passed down the order. Scarblade Chang's heart that was hanging in suspense finally fell down. He looked at the smiling Kang Xia and said, Chief Kong, do you have any other instructions? If not, I'll go back to the winery to keep an eye on it. You did a great job, Scarblade Chang, said Kang Xia with a smile. The boss told me that if our God's nectar starts to sell and achieves good results, you'll be rewarded. Your salary will be doubled starting from this month. As for the dividends, we'll talk about it at the end of the year. Scarblade Chang's eyes lit up as he said with a smile, Thank you, Chief Kong. Please help me convey my gratitude to the big boss. Kang Xia waved her hand and said with a smile, Then go back. The boss may come back in a few days to hold a celebration banquet for us. You should prepare for it. All right. The smile on Scarblade Chang's face turned thicker. Today's 4 chapters have been released, and there are still more than 20 votes left for the 1,600 monthly votes. Brothers and sisters, you can do it. Tomorrow, it's up to you to add 1 or 2 chapters. There's no upper limit to the release. As long as the brothers and sisters dare to smash the votes, Quiet Night will dare to accept the challenge. That's right, for every additional 50 fans, you can also add 1 more chapter. Quiet Night will update the Immortal World's news every week, and will interact with them in a timely manner. There's also a rain of red packets from time to time _. Chapter 384. Inside the garage of the villa in the Nank Villa complex, heat waves billowed and raging. Tan Xiao was bare-chested, sweating profusely. His arms mechanically threw pieces of materials into the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. Under the supervision of his divine sense, every piece of refined iron, refined copper, and other materials that were thrown into the cauldron would be melted into a paste within a few breaths. Then, it would evaporate under the high temperature, leaving behind only the essence the size of a strand of hair. What a great cauldron! The smile on Tanxio's face never diminished. He was even confident that if he had this demon god spirit devourer cauldron in the immortal world, his efficiency in refining and alchemy would be improved several times. Even the quality of the refined products would be greatly improved. Qinan, tell them to move the materials into the garage. Understood. As the electric door was opened, the billowing heat wave made Qinan, who was waiting outside, retreat a few steps. A horrified look also appeared on her gorgeous face. Boss, can you stay inside for a long time with such a high temperature? Qinan was aware of Tanxio's ability, but she couldn't help but ask after enduring the heat wave and entering the garage. Qinan sensed it. Not counting the temperature inside the cauldron, just the temperature in the warehouse was probably more than 50 or 60 degrees. Even the lights inside had been extinguished without her knowing. It was obvious that the high temperature had caused a problem with the wiring inside. It's all right. This temperature can't hurt me. Tanxio grinned. Don't waste my time. Tell your men to move all the materials inside. If the task is big, you can transfer some more people here. The task you gave is really big, boss, said Qinan. I'll transfer some more people here. But can this cauldron hold so many materials? There was a truck of materials sent here before, but didn't it also disappear? Tanxio lightly smiled. All right, you worry about what you should worry about. Don't worry about what you shouldn't. Understood. Qinan nodded respectfully with a solemn expression. In the blink of an eye, 6 days had passed. In these 6 days, Tanxio did not eat, drink, or sleep. He paid close attention to the refinement of the materials in the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. Finally, all the ordinary materials were used up. The essence extracted from the demon god spirit devourer cauldron was only the size of an adult's fist. If you still don't come, I won't be able to make it. Tanxio frowned and looked out of the garage. However, under the night sky outside, more than a dozen core members of the everlasting feast hall were sitting paralyzed on the ground, gasping for breath. Tired. He was so tired that he didn't even want to lift a finger. Qinan, call them again using the contact information I gave you before. Tell them to come here as soon as possible. Tanxio frowned and glanced at Qinan outside the garage. All right. A few minutes later, after Qinan made the call, she learned that the truck from Star City had arrived outside the villa complex. Therefore, Qinan brought the car over as fast as she could. Move it over. Upon seeing Banzhou, Tanxio immediately called out without hesitation. Banzhou was obviously a bit excited to see Tanxio again, but at the moment he could only suppress his excitement due to the current situation. He quickly opened the truck's door and moved a few 100 pounds of sky sandstones from inside. Where should I put them, boss? Asked Banzhou while enduring the high temperature. Just put them on the ground, said Tanxio. You've completed your task and came right on time. Go. Since you've come to Demonic City, have fun for 2 days and then go back to your business. Boss, there are still some things I haven't reported to you yet, said Banzhou. How about I wait for you to finish your business and then report to you? Tanxio nodded and watched Banzhou leave. Without hesitation, he threw the few 100 pounds of sky sandstones into the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. 2 hours later, Tanxio's expression turned particularly serious. After closing the garage's electric door, he waved his hand to roll up the wintertide fluorite and star fragment stones from the ground, and threw them into the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. At the same time, he cast the imperial wind art. His toes stepped on the void and his palms constantly shot out palm prints. The palm prints formed veined patterns. The veined patterns rotated in the void and combined into the materials inside the cauldron. Then, the Star City array veined patterns made the extracted essence exude a very strong oppressive aura. Retreat. Quickly retreat. After Qinan and the dozen or so strong men suddenly felt this suffocating aura, they rushed out of the villa one after another. They only stopped and looked into the distance after retreating dozens of meters away from the villa with bewildered and uncertain expressions. Chief Qi, what's going on? A strong man hurriedly asked. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask, said Qinan in a deep voice. Boss has ordered that none of you are to speak about what he did here. Just act as if nothing happened these days. Understood. The strong man nodded. Qinan stood outside the villa's courtyard and looked inside through the gate. What made her eyes light up was that even the powerful oppressive aura didn't force Tanxiu out. She was very curious about how powerful her boss was. How many mysterious and unfathomable means did he have? Tanxiu stood in the air in front of the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. After the palm prints formed by his star force were all inserted into the fist-sized substance, his expression turned particularly serious. His figure flashed lightning fast to the corner of the garage, and tightly grasped the void crackstone he had placed there. I need the void crackstone to refine an interspatial ring. There are a lot of materials here, so I can make a dagger out of it. Tanxiu's mind was racing. The extracted essence began to slowly change according to the shape imagined in Tanxiu's mind. Soon after, when the dagger shape was completely formed, Tanxiu once again inserted various palm prints and array-veined patterns. Condense. With a low roar, Tanxiu pointed with his finger. Suddenly, the dagger with a deep blood groove and a scale pattern on the back solidified. As Tanxiu's divine sense swept out and left the demon god spirit devourer cauldron, it quietly floated in front of Tanxiu with a trembling sound. Puff! Tanxiu's finger was cut on the blade, and the moment the blood was absorbed by the dagger, Tanxiu already felt a blood connection with this sharp dagger. Even the movement of his fingers could be easily controlled, as if he was controlling his own limbs. Void crack stone. Tanxiu put away the dagger he named Bloodthirster, and threw the void crack stone into the demon god spirit devourer cauldron with full concentration. As his palm prints were sent out again and again, the remaining essence of the material gradually began to shrink. After the void crack stone melted into it, Tanxiu's expression changed, and he suddenly opened his hands. Triple control with one thought. At this moment his body was trembling slightly. This was the first time he had truly refined a weapon after returning from the immortal realm, and it was more difficult than he had imagined. His muscles were trembling, and his blood vessels and tendons were bulging. In his dantian, the star force in the black vortex finally stopped spurting out. Expand open. Tanxiu's palm prints kept patting, merging into the three separated essence of the material. His speed was getting faster and faster. Gradually, the naked eye could no longer see the trajectory of his arms and palms. The oppressive aura from the demon god spirit devourer cauldron was getting stronger and stronger. Even more. In the end, Qinan and the others outside had already retreated 100 steps before they felt a little better, and the residents near the villa were forced to run out of their homes to watch from afar, feeling suffocated. A few of the more courageous and burly men even forced their way to Qinan and the other's side to inquire about the cause of the matter. Crack. Just when Tanxiu tried his best to expand the inner space of the three interspatial rings by more than a dozen square meters, he could no longer expand it. A ruthless look flashed in Tanxiu's eyes. He attracted thunder and lightning, and finally expanded the space in the interspatial ring by one-fold. Immediately, under his control, he took out two of the interspatial rings from the demon god spirit devourer cauldron, and then he focused all his spiritual force on the last interspatial ring in the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. Tanxiu's divine sense included the interspatial ring, and he was thinking about something in his mind. My cultivation is too low, and the Dharma spells I can use are few and far between. Previously, my divine sense was divided into 3 parts. Even if I attracted thunder and lightning to expand the space in the interspatial ring by one-fold, it can only cover an area of more than 20 square meters. It's too small, really too small. If I focus on refining this one now, I should be able to double the space inside. Among the Dharma spells I can now use the Four Guardians formation. Although inscribing the Four Guardians formation in the interspatial ring is a bit of a fuss, it can still expand the space in the interspatial ring by a lot. Let's give it a try and see what the result is. After pondering for a while, Tanxiu immediately began to work. However, engraving the 4 symbols guardian array inside the interspatial ring was much more difficult than he had imagined. Finally, his mental force was almost completely exhausted before he was barely able to finish engraving it. It's done. Tan Xiu's face was slightly pale, and beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. He waved his hands instantly, and as the lid of the cauldron opened, the interspatial ring flew out and floated quietly in front of him. I almost failed. Fortunately, I had a breakthrough in my cultivation a few days ago, and my divine sense has also increased by several times. Otherwise, I'm afraid that even refining this one in front of me would be too much for me, let alone refining 3 interspatial rings at the same time. Tan Xiu reached out and pinched the interspatial ring with a smile hanging on the corner of his mouth. He was very satisfied with the size of the space inside the interspatial ring. After all, it was more than 100 square meters inside, which was enough to store a lot of things. Moreover, as his cultivation realm improved, he could refine this interspatial ring again, and the internal space could also be continuously expanded. Extinguish. With a wave of Tan Xiu's hand, the burning true fire talisman automatically extinguished, and the intense heat also quickly dissipated. Quiet Night found that I'm really getting old. Every time I erupt, my body will collapse after 2 days, as if I'm suffering from a serious illness. For the time being, I'll keep 2 chapters a day, from 8 in the morning to 5 in the evening. After I've recuperated, I'll make up for the chapters with monthly votes and chapters one by one. In addition, last night, Quiet Night updated the character images of Yuan Chuling, Jia Ruidao, Dao Master Ziyi, Long Zhengyu, and Ouyang Lulu on the WeChat official account. If you like these characters, please go to the WeChat official account to discuss and leave a message. Quiet Night will pick 1 or 2 of the most popular characters to write for them. Chapter 385. Inside the messy garage, Tan Xiu dripped his blood to bind the ring to his body, and walked out of the garage. Originally, he didn't think that refining something would cause such a big commotion. But when he came outside the villa's courtyard, he could only force a wry smile inwardly when he saw the residents surrounding him, as well as Qi Nan and the Everlasting Feast Hall's core members. Qi Nan, come here. Standing outside the courtyard, Tan Xiu waved to Qi Nan, who was nearly 100 meters away. Qi Nan's eyes lit up. After feeling the pressure emanating from the villa disappear, she immediately gestured to the Everlasting Feast Hall's core members, and then ran toward Tan Xiu. Boss, is it over? Qi Nan asked with a curious look on her face. It's over, Tan Xiu nodded and smilingly said. But it should have caused quite a big commotion, right? Yeah. Qi Nan nodded. The residents of the nearby villas were forced far away by the oppressive aura. Some of them have reported it, but we couldn't stop it. If my guess is correct, the police will arrive in a few minutes at most. I see, said Tan Xiu. I'll leave this place to you. I'll take my leave first. When you're done here, remember to help me sell this villa. I'll get it done, said Qi Nan respectfully. Tan Xiu turned and walked into the courtyard. He picked up his coat and asked after putting it on, I've been busy these days. Did you receive any important calls? Your mother called you and said that she has arrived in Shanghai and is now waiting for you in the Blue Star Villa complex, said Qi Nan. Also, Chief Kong called a few times to ask about your situation. She also told me to tell you that the God's Nectar business is booming and all the goods have been sold out. She didn't dare to accept the orders without your permission. That's right, there's also someone called Jingyu looking for you. He said that he has something important to discuss with you. Tan Xiu grabbed the car key and sat in the driver's seat. He took the mobile phone from Qi Nan and nodded. All right, I got it. I'll contact them later. Start. Leave. Soon after, Tang Xiu left the villa complex with a huge harvest. He lit a cigarette with a lighter and took 2 puffs. Only then did his highly tense mood ease down. After dialing Long Jingyu's number, Tan Xiu put on his Bluetooth headset. Why are you looking for me? Long Jingyu's voice came from the phone. Tan Xiu, I can finally hear your voice. I've been looking for you for the past few days to discuss something with you. Tan Xiu said, Go ahead, I'm listening. Long Jingyu said, You know about Hong Kong, right? There are a lot of feng shui masters there. They are proficient in geography and feng shui. I've even heard that there are dragon veins. In short, when I passed through Hong Kong, I accidentally met a feng shui master there. He learned that the Nine Dragons Island you bought is being rebuilt, so he hopes that he can take a look at the feng shui. What do you think? Would you like me to invite him to Nine Dragons Island? Feng shui master? A cold glint flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes. He shook his head and said, no need. As for the reconstruction of Nine Dragons Island, you must follow the architectural plan I designed before and not make any changes. We're friends, so I can tell you that if you listen to some feng shui master and don't follow my design, I'll demolish and rebuild everything. Is it that serious? Long Jingyu forced a smile. He's a feng shui master after all. I think you should listen to his opinion. Maybe. Tan Xiu interrupted Long Jingyu and said in a deep voice, there's no maybe. Don't tell me anything unexpected. You're an engineer, and I'm sure you know how serious the consequences will be if you randomly change the design during the construction. Long Jingyu, if you think your Long family can bear the cost of rebuilding Nine Dragons Island, you can give it a try. Hearing the seriousness in Tan Xiu's tone, Long Jingyu forced a wry smile and said, all right. I'm the one with good intentions who thinks ill of me. Forget it since you don't need it. I'll find a way to deal with that feng shui master. Tan Xiu was still a bit worried and exhorted again. You know my architectural design ability, Long Jingyu. I won't hide it from you. Even if there are some minor changes during the construction, it will affect the entire design. I bought Nine Dragons Island for more than 2 billion, and I'll invest another 10 to 20 billion to rebuild it. Since I've handed it over to you, I hope you won't let me down. Long Jingyu took a deep breath and said, I understand. Don't worry. That's right. When will you return to Star City? I'll be staying in Nine Dragons Island for a few days, then I'll go back to Star City. I'll contact you if I go back to Star City, said Tan Xiu. He hung up the phone. A sneer appeared on Tan Xiu's face. A feng shui master? What kind of joke is this? Who in the world is better than him when it comes to feng shui? He had meticulously arranged the Nine Dragons Island's reconstruction project, and spent a lot of time and energy to draw the reconstruction plan, which was absolutely perfect. He would never allow others to modify it without authorization, even if it was Long Jingyu. Immediately after, Tan Xiu dialed Kong Xia's cell number. After the call was connected, Tan Xiu said with a smile, has the God's Nectar been on the market? I heard the business is booming and all the God's Nectar has been sold out. Boss, I thought you didn't care about the sales of the God's Nectar, Kong Xia said with a smile. That's right, the God's Nectar we've distributed in major cities all over the country has been sold out shortly after the opening ceremony. The second batch of goods is now on the way to the exclusive stores in major cities all over the country, and should be delivered tomorrow. You've earned a lot of money, haven't you? Tan Xiu said with a smile. The finance department has calculated that the net profit from the first batch of God's Nectar has been more than 276 billion yuan, said Kong Xia happily. Although the quantity of the second batch of God's Nectar is relatively less, it should still be a net profit of more than 1 billion yuan. That's great, Tan Xiu said with a smile. Such a huge profit is much higher than what I previously thought. Tell me about the skincare lotion and scar removal cream. Have these two cosmetics already been on the market? The skincare lotion and the scar removal cream have just been launched and sold a lot with the help of the popularity of the God's Nectar, said Kong Xia. But you also know that it's very difficult for cosmetics to have a big effect in a short time. Let's wait for a few more days. I dare say that after a few more days, the customers who have bought our products will definitely help us publicize it. Fragrant wine needs no fear of the deep alley, Tan Xiu said with a smile. Now that I have this moment's circle, I can easily share good things. Alright, I'll talk to you later. I'll take some time to go back to Star City and hold a celebration banquet for you. We're a group of top executives, and we're all looking forward to seeing you, Kong Xia said with a smile. I know, Tan Xiu said with a smile and then directly hung up the phone. Although the revenue from the God's Nectar was much more than he expected, he was also aware of one thing. The winery's production lines were too few, and the God's Nectar sold today was probably the vast majority of the storage in the past few months. This time, he could earn 2 to 3 billion yuan, but he was sure that such a large-scale sale could only be carried out once in a year and a half. Usually he still had to operate it slowly and steadily. As for the skincare lotion and the scar removal cream, he didn't need to worry about them. Judging from the products in the world's cosmetics industry, the skincare lotion and the scar removal cream could instantly kill them. When the time came, it would spread from 1 to 10, and from 10 to 100. Sooner or later, these two cosmetics would become the world's top luxury jewelry brands. Go ahead. The current selling price of these two cosmetics was no worse than the world's top cosmetics. Blue Star Villa Complex. After Tan Xiao drove back, just as he entered the courtyard, he saw Duwan washing clothes inside, and sitting next to her was his mother, Su Lingyun. "Mom, how come you're here?" Tan Xiao greeted her with a smile and asked. Upon seeing Tan Xiao, Su Lingyun was happy at first. But when she saw Tan Xiao's tired face and dirty appearance, she suddenly felt distressed and greeted him. She then said, "It's that little thing you got. It made a mess at home in Southgate Town. It didn't hurt me, but even your father's leg was torn by its claws. So, I came here personally to send it to you." Little thing? Tan Xiao stared blankly. He suddenly recalled the fierce beast he had subdued. A faint smile appeared on his face as he quickly called out to it through his mind. Whoosh! A figure flickered and instantly appeared in front of Tan Xiao. Tan Xiao was unprepared as it threw itself into Tan Xiao's arms. "Little thing, didn't I say that you can't hurt people without special circumstances? Who told you to hurt people?" Tan Xiao grabbed its neck and patted its head as he smilingly scolded. The little thing, which looked like a cat and a leopard, quickly showed a flattering expression and chirped a few times. Then it looked at Su Lingyun, meaning that it was protecting her. Tan Xiao couldn't help laughing. He patted its head and said, "Remember, you're not allowed to hurt anyone without my permission in the future. Else, I'll kill you and make a pot of delicious stew." The little thing shrunk its head and behaved. Tan Xiao looked at Su Lingyun and smilingly said, "Mom, do you know each other?" "Yeah, we know each other," Su Lingyun said with a smile. "These two kids are good. You can take care of each other if you live together. However, I'd like to ask you, what's the matter with your sloppy appearance? Also, why didn't you participate in the military training?" Tan Xiao forced a wry smile inwardly. He couldn't tell the truth at this time, so he could only make up a story to deal with it. He said, "Mom, you also know that my company's products have been launched on the market, so I have to go to another place to oversee it. Also, it doesn't matter whether I participate in the military training or not. I'll follow your instructions and learn the culture and knowledge well, so I can smoothly get my university diploma. As for my current appearance, it's because I'm tired, hungry, and uncomfortable from rushing back from another place." Chapter 386. There was a kind of love in the world that was vast and selfless. There was a kind of feeling in the world that was solemn and sacred. It made people yearn for it, and it made people happy for a lifetime. It was the most ordinary maternal love. Su Lingyun had endured hardships to raise Tan Xiao. It could be said that Tan Xiao was Su Lingyun's flesh and blood. At this moment, when she heard Tan Xiao saying that he was tired, hungry, and uncomfortable, she threw everything to the back of her mind. She quickly got up and said, "Xiao, go rest first. I'll cook for you. I'll call you when it's done." "Thank you, Mom," Tan Xiao said with a smile. He then nodded to Duwan and entered the villa. He quickly went to the bedroom on the second floor and chose a new set of clothes in the cloakroom. After taking it to the bathroom, he took a comfortable hot bath and then went to the refreshed study room. Inside the study room, there were a lot of very precious things inside. Originally, when Tan Xiao let Xue Chao, Duwan, and their family of 3 live here, he was a bit worried that they would move the things in his study room. But now it seemed that they were really kind and honest and didn't move anything inside. "Collect." Tan Xiao waved his hand as all the valuable things in the study room floated up and were instantly stored into the interspatial ring. There are still a few wintertide fluorites and star fragment stones left. The void crack stones have been consumed, so it will be difficult to refine an interspatial ring later. However, there are still a lot of sky sandstones. I won't have to worry about precious materials if I use them for refining later. Tan Xiu nodded with satisfaction. He planned to return to Star City in 2 days to store all the valuable things in his study room in Southgate Town, as well as the materials in the freezer in the Old River Street district, into the interspatial ring. Afterward, Tan Xiu took advantage of the mealtime to chat with his mother, and decided to return to Star City early in the morning. Therefore, Tan Xiu directly notified the captain of the private plane at the airport. He also informed Kong Xia of the approximate time to return to Star City. Tan Xiu was very tired after nearly 10 days of busyness. Because of this, he slept from day to night and from night to dawn. He slept for more than 30 hours. However, after he woke up, the feeling of comfort throughout his body was wonderful. Star City Airport. Kong Xia was wearing a beige dress, a coffee-colored vest, a peaked cap, and high-heeled shoes as she stood outside the exit of the airport, overlooking the flow of people constantly pouring out of the exit. Su Quan, on the other hand, was holding the car keys with a smile hanging on the corner of his mouth. He leaned against a pillar behind him, his eyes sweeping over Kong Xia's face from time to time. As a shrewd person, how could he not see through Tang Xia's thoughts? But it was also because he could see through Kong Xia's thoughts that he worshipped Tan Xiu even more. Director Kong, there's still 16 minutes before Tan Xiu arrives. We're ahead of schedule. Kong Xia turned her head and glared at Su Quan. Then she snorted and said, "It's not like I don't know. Do I need you to remind me? Have you done the promotion plan for skincare lotion and scar cream? If you haven't done it, then hurry up." Su Quan gulped down a mouthful of saliva. He stared with wide eyes as he pointed to the surroundings and asked, "Kong, Chief Kong, you mean you want me to do the promotion plan here?" Kong Xia rolled her eyes at him and snorted. "Can't you do it here? If you can't, then go to the parking lot outside and wait." "All right. I'll do it." Su Quan rolled his eyes inwardly. He was too lazy to go back to the parking lot. So, he directly took out his smartphone and pretended to fiddle with it. He could see that as long as he didn't talk too much, even if he didn't put on an act, perhaps Kong Xia wouldn't reprimand him. Time fleeted by. After nearly half an hour, Kong Xia's eyes finally lit up as she saw Tan Xiu coming out. However, what made her complexion slightly change was that Tan Xiu's mother, Su Lingyun, unexpectedly came back together with Tan Xiu. "Ha! Chief Kong, when did Auntie go to Shanghai?" At this time, Su Quan had also seen Tan Xiu and Su Lingyun, so he asked with a surprised expression. Kong Xia subconsciously glanced at him and whispered, "You ask me, but who am I supposed to ask? Remember not to talk too much later. If you can't bear it and want to say something, help me put in some good words." A smile outlined on the corner of Su Quan's mouth as he said, "I got it. I know what to do." Kong Xia looked at him with satisfaction and then strode forward to greet him. "Boss, I knew you would come back at this time, but I didn't expect that Auntie would also go to Shanghai and come back together with you. Auntie, it must have been hard on you all the way here, right?" Su Lingyun knew Kong Xia and also knew that she was the general manager of her son's company. So she said with a smile, "It's nothing. I didn't expect that Xiu would ask Kong Xia to come and pick us up personally. This brat is too outrageous. You're usually busy enough." Kong Xia smiled and said, "It's none of boss's business. I came here on my own accord." Su Lingyun's eyes lit up. She was keenly aware that after Kong Xia secretly glanced at her son, a touch of tenderness flashed on her face. It was clearly the expression of a passionate girl seeing her lover. Su Lingyun grabbed Kong Xia's hand and said with a smile, "Kong Xia, don't speak for him. How you and Xiu get along is your business. In any case, I'll say it here. If he dares to bully you in the future, tell me and I'll deal with him." Kong Xia looked happy. It was the first time in history that Su Lingyun showed such intimacy to her. What made her happy was that Auntie Su's words seemed to have a deeper meaning. "Don't worry, Auntie. I'll definitely tell you if he bullies me. Also, if he dares to do something bad, I'll also secretly tell you, Auntie." Kong Xia was exceptionally smart and her small mouth was as if it was smeared with honey. Su Lingyun nodded with satisfaction. She looked at Su Quan with a smile and immediately said, "Quanzi, why are you here?" I'm working at the magnificent Tang Corporation now, Auntie Lingyun, said Su Quan with a smile. I know, but I didn't expect that you would also come to pick us up. Su Lingyun said with a smile. Let's go. I haven't eaten anything this morning, so I'm a bit hungry now. And let's go, Auntie. Kong Xia quickly pulled Su Lingyun's arm and affectionately said. Southgate Town. When they returned, Kong Xia and Su Quan intended to leave, but Su Lingyun forcibly stopped them. Tang Yunda, who was in the villa's hall, spoke a few words with Kong Xia and Su Quan before calling Tan Xiu to a room on the second floor. Xiu, now that I've met you in person, can you tell me about the specific situation in Guangyang and Fukang? Who are those people who appeared later? Tang Yunda couldn't help but ask after taking a seat on the sofa, while leaning on his crutches. I'll check your injury first, Tan Xiu said. Tang Yunda pushed Tan Xiu's hand away and shook his head. You don't need to worry about my injury. It's fine. It'll be completely healed in 8 to 10 days since it didn't touch my bones. Also, don't change the subject. I'll always feel a bit uneasy if you don't tell me. Tan Xiu let out a forced smile. He walked to the opposite side of Tang Yunda and sat down, saying, Forget it. Since you must know, then I'll tell you. But you have to promise me one thing. Don't tell anyone else, not even my mom and grandpa. All right. Tang Yunda replied without hesitation. Those people are actually the Everlasting Feast Hall's people, Tan Xiu said. What kind of existence is the Everlasting Feast Hall? It's a sect. It's like the martial arts sects in ancient times, where the powerhouses are as many as the clouds in the sky. They're also proficient in various cultural and technical aspects. In short, they're a group of very powerful people. Any one of them can cause a great sensation. What I'm most concerned about is your relationship with the Everlasting Feast Hall. Tang Yunda frowned. I'm the Everlasting Feast Hall's boss, Tan Xiu said. Tang Yunda stared blankly for a moment before he rolled his eyes and smilingly scolded. Don't talk nonsense with me. Since the Everlasting Feast Hall is a martial arts sect with as many powerhouses as the clouds in the sky, what virtue or ability do you have to become the Everlasting Feast Hall's boss? Seriously speaking, don't play dumb with me again. I'm serious. Tan Xiu forced a smile and said, I'm really the Everlasting Feast Hall's boss. As for how I became the Everlasting Feast Hall's boss, I won't explain it to you since it's too troublesome. Shortly put, if you meet the Everlasting Feast Hall's people in the future, just treat them as your own people. As for the information on all the Tang family's members, I'll give it to the Everlasting Feast Hall later. Tang Yunda frowned and asked, Is the Everlasting Feast Hall reliable? Can we really trust them 100%? I can't trust them 100%, but I can trust them 80% to 90%, Tan Xiu said. That's why the Tang family's core can be concealed, and so can my most confidential matters. But the information on the Tang family's members must be given to them, lest they cause trouble in the future. You're right, Tang Yunda nodded. That's right. There's something I want to talk to you about, Tan Xiu said. Since your body is fine now, shouldn't you be busy with some important matters? I heard that you were an elite in the army, a very powerful expert. What serious matters? Tang Yunda was confused. What serious matters can it be? Tan Xiu said. Making money, cultivating my own forces, and supporting my family. You can't just sit and eat without anything, waiting for me to take care of you when you're so young, right? Tang Yunda couldn't help laughing and said, Can't I? Tang Xiu rolled his eyes at him and said, Don't push your luck, all right? It's not a problem for me to take care of you when you're old, but you have to wait until you can't walk anymore. You're still young now. You're in your 40s or 50s, a good age. Make more money to support your family in the future. As for the talents you want to cultivate, I can help you. How will you help me? Asked Tang Yunda with a strange expression. You don't have any trustworthy subordinates, so it's useless for me to tell you now. Tan Xiu said with a faint smile. You should cultivate a group of trusted subordinates first, and I'll help you cultivate a group of talents in the future. As for what you want to do, it's up to you. Chapter 387. Forget it. Since you don't want to tell me, then I won't ask. Tang Yunda chuckled. Give me some time, I'll do something serious. By then, I'll make you a rich second generation in the truest sense. You want me to be a rich second generation for the rest of my life? Tan Xiu shook his head. Are you looking down on me? Tang Yunda stared at him and smilingly asked. It's not that I'm looking down on you, but how much money do you think you can make in a year? Tan Xiu chuckled. Do you want me to tell you how much the net profit of the magnificent Tang Corporation's God's Nectar is only sold in 2 batches? How much? Tang Yunda really didn't know. He only knew that the God's Nectar was now very famous. Kong Xia had personally delivered 10 boxes of it, and he had tasted it. The taste was simply the best wine in the world. Tan Xiu stretched out 4 fingers and smilingly said, Nearly 4 billion. I'm talking about the net profit. Hiss, Tang Yunda abruptly got up, but the pain in his leg made his body sway and he sat back on the sofa. Shock was written all over his thin face at this moment. He looked at Tan Xiu incredulously and exclaimed, You said that the God's Nectar has earned 4 billion yuan since it's been on the market? You're not joking with me, are you? If Kong Xia didn't lie to me, then I don't think I'm joking with you. Tan Xiu chuckled. My mom happened to be there when Kong Xia told me about it on the way back. Furthermore, the magnificent Tang Corporation's other products, the cosmetics, have also been put on the market. Kong Xia told me that the sales of these 2 cosmetics have doubled every day. In a short time, the magnificent Tang Corporation's profit has reached nearly 100 million yuan. Cough cough, Tang Yunda choked and coughed a few times before he could catch his breath. He knew that his son's magnificent Tang Corporation was a good company. Although the development had been smooth and the God's Nectar was on the market, the sales would probably be good due to its excellent taste. But he never thought that the profits of the God's Nectar would be so big. The cosmetics also seemed to have great potential. As for himself, it seemed that no matter how hard he worked, he wouldn't be able to catch up with his son's magnificent Tang Corporation if he started working hard now, right? The shock inside Tang Yunda's heart slowly disappeared and was replaced with a bit of helplessness. He shook his head and forced a smile, saying, It's said that it's the era of relying on one's father, yet our family has reversed and become a family that relies on our son. Fine, you won't be able to be a rich second generation. Then let's be rich for 1 generation and officials for 3 generations. Tan Xiu smiled and said, Dad, you know your son is strong now, right? Well, if there's nothing else, I'll go down first. Although the magnificent Tang Corporation has been handed over to Kong Xia to manage, there are still some things I need to understand clearly. That's right. Tang Yunda nodded and said, Even if Kong Xia is trustworthy, she's still an outsider. Unless you can take her. Tan Xiu waved his hand and said, Stop. We'll talk about this later. Finished. Tan Xiu dashed out of the room. However, he didn't go downstairs directly, but went to the study room instead. When he saw the things inside, a satisfied look immediately appeared on his face. Apparently, his parents knew that he had arranged Mu Qingping's matter before, so they didn't let anyone casually touch the things in his study room. Therefore, the furnishings inside were the same as before. Break. Tan Xiu spent a few minutes to remove the several small arrays he had arranged before, and then stored all the valuables into his interspatial ring. Afterward, he went downstairs. Seeing his mother and Kong Xia busy in the kitchen, with the 2 nannies helping them, Tan Xiu smiled and walked toward Su Quan, who was sitting on the sofa in the living room and watching TV in boredom. Quan, how's Brother Kai now? Tan Xiu walked over and sat down as he asked with a smile. He's still the same as always. Honest, loyal, and doesn't know how to be flexible. He's working as a security guard in the winery. But I heard that Director Dai appreciates him very much. He thinks that his character is reliable, and has been promoted to the vice-captain of the security team. We all know Brother Kai's character. Tan Xiu said with a smile. I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for him to change his character in the future. However, it's a good thing. I'll give him some training after some time. Let alone being the vice-captain of the winery security team. It won't be a problem for him to be the magnificent Tang Corporation's security team's captain in the future. You're going to set up a security team? Su Quan was surprised. I do have such a plan, Tan Xiu said with a smile. After all, A big company will need someone to look after it in the future. You're right. Suquan nodded. It's a pity that my character isn't suitable to be a security guard, else I'll suffocate to death. Tanshio said with a smile. Your character is quite suitable for sales and management. However, if you have the ability in the future, you mustn't abandon the magnificent Tang Corporation and establish your own company. The smile on Suquan's face disappeared as he shook his head and said, Tanshio, we're brothers who grew up together with bare butts. You brought me to Star City and changed my fate. I won't do such a heartless thing. Besides, my current income and treatment have made me smile so much that I can't even close my mouth. As long as I climb higher in the future, I'm sure my income and treatment will also get higher and higher. If I don't give up my golden rice bowl and run out to fight for it, wouldn't that be stupid? Tanshio smiled and was about to speak when his eyes glanced at the LCD TV screen. Suddenly, the smile on his face froze. It was as though a bolt of lightning flashed inside his heart, causing him to jump up immediately. He dashed to the front of the LCD TV in a flash and stared at the advertisement on it. Diamond Burial, the classic of 100 reincarnations, the crystallization of the perfect love that has been created for generations. You deserve it. We'll meet on October 1st in Shanghai's Glory Auction. We're looking forward to your presence. On the TV screen, a sparkling and translucent diamond exuded a dreamy brilliance under the soft light. Around the diamond were 9 emerald leaves, forming a unique diamond ring style. What's wrong, Tanshio? Suquan looked at Tanshio's unusual behavior and curiously asked. An excited look flashed in Tanshio's eyes as he tightly clenched his fists. His breathing became a lot faster at this moment, and his heartbeat was several times faster than usual. At first, when he saw this diamond ring, he only felt that it was a bit familiar. But in a flash, he suddenly realized that the pattern formed by the 9 emerald leaves on the ring was very similar to a plant, the demonic revival grass. That's right. This pattern is completely tailored according to the demonic revival grass. Find the person who made this diamond ring. He must have some news about the demonic revival grass. Tanshio suddenly turned his head to look at Suquan and asked, What's the name of the auction that was just mentioned on the TV? Shanghai's Glory Auction, said Suquan. Tanshio immediately ran to the kitchen and said aloud, Mom, I have an urgent matter to take care of in Shanghai, so I won't be eating at home. Kongxia, I'll immediately come back to hold a celebration party for you after I've dealt with an important matter. But before I come back, you can organize a party first. With a spoon in her hand, Su Lingyun asked with a puzzled expression, Xiao, didn't we just come back from Shanghai? What are you going to do in Shanghai? There's a very important matter that must be dealt with in a timely manner, said Tanshio with all seriousness. Kid, even if it's very important, you still have to eat first, said Su Lingyun. Tanshio waved his hand as he walked outside and said, It's too late. I'll take my leave first. Kongxia hesitated for a moment before she hurriedly chased after him. By the time she caught up with Tanshio had already sat in his Land Rover SUV that had been parked in Star City. Boss, you're going to Shanghai. When will you come back? If you don't attend the celebration party, even if our magnificent Tang Corporation holds a celebration party, there won't be much celebration. Many of our company's top executives are hoping to see you, said Kongxia as she stood outside the window. Tanshio was silent for a moment before he shook his head and said, I don't know how long it will take, but I'll come back as soon as possible. Let's keep in touch by phone. All right. Kongxia nodded silently with a touch of disappointment. As the car rushed out of Southgate Town and headed toward the airport, Tanshio dialed the captain of the private jet and told him that he was going back to Shanghai, Jingmen Island, the Everlasting Feast Hall's HQ, on the 7th floor of the exquisite pagoda on the seabed. A chilling aura filled the entire space on the 7th floor. On the ice bed that was emitting a sparkling blue light, Guyener's eyelashes fluttered twice. As she slowly opened her eyes, a special aura fluctuation spread out from her body. In a flash, an even colder aura spread in all directions. How long have you been unconscious this time? Guyener slowly sat up from the ice bed. Her slender jade-like fingers gently rubbed her brows. A bit of bitterness appeared on her devastatingly beautiful face that was enough to charm all men in the world. Whoosh! A ghostly figure instantly appeared on the 7th floor. Gu Yan'er slightly raised her head and saw Ji-Qimei directly kneeling in front of the ice bed. She then said softly, "Elder Ji, how many times have I told you? You really don't need to kneel to me every time. Actually, you followed me to Earth to find Master, so I've already regarded you as the closest person to me." A layer of mist appeared in Ji-Qimei's eyes. An excited look appeared on her aged face as she looked up and said, "Master, we found the Lord." Gu Yan'er stared blankly for a moment. Her white skirt fluttered in the air as she floated in front of Ji-Qimei. An invisible force instantly pulled Ji-Qimei up to maintain the same height as her. You're not lying to me?" Ji-Qimei shook her head and said, "No. This subordinate is absolutely not lying. In fact, it was Xiaoxue who found the Lord. Moreover, the Lord has been here many times and accompanied you for a long time." "Where is he?" asked Gu Yan'er with a trembling voice. "My master. Where is he now?" "He should be in Shanghai," said Ji-Qimei. "A few days ago, the Lord asked me to go to Shanghai to work for him, so I met him there. Also." Chapter 388. And what? Gu Yan'er hurriedly asked. "This subordinate doesn't know much about Venerable Lord's situation," said Ji-Qimei. "What I know is that Venerable Lord's cultivation has become very, very low. But what's strange is that Venerable Lord's strength is progressing very fast. From the first time I saw him a few months ago to the last time I saw him breaking through, his strength has soared by more than 100 times." Gu Yan'er smiled, but 2 lines of tears rolled down from the corner of her eyes. The yearning for thousands of years, the obsession that was like a devil, was able to support her until now. Being able to see her master again before her soul dissipated, even if it was just a glance, she felt that it was worth it. "Take me to him." Gu Yan'er waved her arm, causing Ji-Qimei's feet to step on the ground. Her figure had already appeared at the entrance of the 7th pagoda. However, just as she floated and appeared on the 1st floor of the exquisite pagoda, her black brows furrowed and a pained expression appeared on her face. Ji-Qimei's speed was also very fast. The moment she appeared beside Gu Yan'er, her figure already blocking the entrance of the 1st floor. "Elder Ji, what are you doing?" Gu Yan'er's expression turned cold as she asked in a deep voice. Ji-Qimei shook her head and said, "Master, you can't leave the exquisite pagoda. I wouldn't have stopped you if you wanted to leave 10 years ago. But your body condition is getting worse and worse now, so you can't leave at all. Otherwise, I can guarantee that you would have fallen into a coma again before you could reach Demonic City and see Venerable Lord." Gu Yan'er's expression changed. She suddenly realized that she had forgotten such an important matter because she was too anxious. She was indeed eager to see her master and wanted to pour out her yearning for thousands of years. But she couldn't let herself fall into a coma again because of her impatience. "Elder Ji, I'll immediately go out and contact Venerable Lord Master," said Ji-Qimei in a deep voice. "He should be here soon." Gu Yan'er asked, "I feel that my body's condition is pretty good after I woke up this time. I seem to be more energetic than the last time I woke up. According to my understanding of my own body, I should be able to hold on for about 3 days. Do you think, Master, can he get there in 3 days?" Ji-Qimei replied without hesitation, "We can definitely make it. Transportation is very advanced now. In order to see you earlier, the High Lord even borrowed a private plane. Once he hears the news of you waking up, he will immediately rush over on the private plane." Gu Yan'er slowly nodded. She reached out to pull Ji-Qimei's arm and softly asked, "Old Ji, tell me more about Master. Tell me everything you know from the beginning. I want to hear it all." "All right, I'll tell you everything." Ji-Qimei nodded. "However, I have to go out and contact the High Lord first. After that, we'll return to the 7th floor. I'll tell you everything I know." "Yes, let's go." Gu Yan'er nodded lightly. On the highway near Star City's South Gate town, Tan Xiao, who had just finished his phone call, suddenly received a call from Ji-Qimei. Although he was eager to rush back to Demon City, and figure out whether there was any special connection between the diamond ring and the demonic revival grass, he still picked up the call. What's the matter, Ji-Chi-mei? My lord master woke up. She woke up? What did you say? Yen she woke up? Tan Xiu's body trembled. His hands quickly turned the steering wheel as he barely stopped the car on the roadside. Yes. Master wanted to see you immediately, but her physical condition is too poor to leave the exquisite pagoda, so. Ji-Chi-mei forced a smile. I'm on the way to the airport now, Tan Xiu said without hesitation. I'll catch up immediately. Tell Yenner to stay in the exquisite pagoda to recuperate and wait for me. Understood. Ji-Chi-mei respectfully replied. Tan Xiu hung up the phone. After starting the car, he called the captain of the private plane and told him not to apply for a flight to Demon City, but to Jingmen Island. Although the captain was very curious about Tan Xiu's change of mind, he still followed Tan Xiu's instructions. More than half an hour later, Tan Xiu drove to the airport. When he boarded the plane, the middle-aged captain forced a smile and said, Mr. Tang, I've contacted the leader of Star City Airport. Due to the time constraints, the flight route is tight. I'm afraid we have to wait for 2.5 hours before we can depart. Tan Xiu frowned and said with a sinking tone, Can't you use your connections? The middle-aged captain forced a smile and said, We don't have any connections in Star City. Tan Xiu took out his mobile and dialed Long Hanwen's number. After the other party picked up, he asked, Uncle Long, there's something I want to ask you. Do you have any connections in Star City Airport? I do have some connections. What do you want to do? Long Hanwen's voice came out of the phone. I borrowed a private plane from a friend, and it's parked at Star City Airport. I'm in a hurry to go to Jingmen Island, but there's a problem with the flight route. I need to wait for 2.5 hours before I can depart. So if Uncle Long has any connections, how about you help me contact them? All right, wait for my call, said Long Hanwen. A few minutes later, Long Hanwen's call came. After Tan Xiu picked it up, he forced a smile and said, Tan Xiu, I don't have any other way. My old friend told me that the current flight route has long been fixed. If I arbitrarily change it, it will affect 7 to 8 passenger planes that will be delayed. How about you wait a bit more? I understand, Uncle Long. My matter is a bit urgent. I'll think of another way, Tan Xiu said. All right. Long Hanwen said with regret. Tan Xiu took the phone and was silent for a moment. Suddenly, he thought of someone and immediately dialed her number. I say, nephew Gu, you rarely take the initiative to call me, your aunt. What's wrong with you today? Why did you suddenly call me? Tang Min's voice came out of the phone. Tan Xiu hurriedly said, Auntie, do you have any way to influence Star City Airport with your power or connections? I have an urgent matter. Tang Min was silent for 2 seconds before she said with all seriousness, I have a way if it's a very serious matter. Then, can you help me contact the model of my private plane? I'll let the captain tell you that I need to hurry to fly from Star City Airport to Jingmen Island, said Tan Xiu. All right. Tang Min and the middle-aged captain talked on the phone. Soon after, the middle-aged captain received a call from a leader with real power at the airport. The other party said, Mr. Wang, you're really amazing. In this short period of time, I have received several calls. The one who just called me is a big shot in the imperial capital. Forget it, forget it. I've already arranged some people to adjust the time. You can take off in half an hour at most. Is that all right? The middle-aged captain glanced at Tan Xiu and was secretly shocked. Although he knew that Tan Xiu had made several calls and that the last one was his aunt, he didn't expect that Tan Xiu's aunt had such great power that even the senior leaders of Star City Airport had no choice but to adjust the flight route. Mr. Tang, within half an hour? The middle-aged captain covered the phone and whispered to Tan Xiu. Sure. Tan Xiu nodded. The middle-aged captain then said to the phone, Thank you, leader. No problem. Imperial capital, inside a government building. Tang Min hung up the phone. A thoughtful look flashed in her eyes. She was somewhat curious about why Tan Xiu was in such a hurry to rush to Jingmen Island. Although she didn't have much contact with her nephew, she knew that Tang Xiu was a steady young man through the things he had done. No matter what he did, he would always be able to think it through. 2.5 hours. Half an hour. This time difference of 2 hours was enough to make him unable to sit still, and he even needed his help. He must have encountered something extremely important. Immediately, Tang Min grabbed the phone on the desk and dialed a number. Dad, Tan Xiao just called me and asked me to help him. Inside the Tang family's ancestral residence in the imperial capital, Tang Guosheng was holding a pen and paper, writing and drawing. He was also thinking about something. When he received his daughter's call and heard what she said, his complexion turned solemn. After a moment of silence, he slowly said, I got it. I'll contact him myself. After hanging up the phone, Tang Guosheng dialed Tan Xiao's number. Xiao, I just got the news that you're going to Jingmen Island from Star City. Did something big happen? If something happened, you must tell Grandpa. Even if I have to risk my old life, I'll solve it for you. Tang Guosheng immediately spoke with concern, so that he wouldn't arouse Tan Xiao's rejection. Grandpa, something big indeed happened. But the Tang family can't help me in this matter, said Tan Xiao. Besides, I don't need anyone's help. The reason why I'm in such a hurry to Jingmen Island is because I want to see someone very important to me. Tang Guosheng suddenly understood. He felt slightly relieved and said, It's good that there's no danger. Xiao, I know you're very powerful. But you must remember that even if you're powerful, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. If something happens, you must tell Grandpa. Grandpa's body is strong and healthy now. I can help you. I know, Grandpa, said Tan Xiao. Tang Guosheng hesitated for a moment before asking, Can you tell Grandpa that the person you're going to Jingmen Island to see is? Tan Xiao was silent for a moment before he slowly said, My apprentice. Tang Guosheng's complexion slightly changed as he said in a deep voice, I know. I won't ask anything else. Just pay attention to your safety. All right. After hanging up the phone, Tang Guosheng slightly frowned. He knew a lot about Tan Xiao. He also knew that Tan Xiao had 4 apprentices. One of them was Chen Zhizhong, and the other was the little girl Guyin. In addition, there was another one in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. As for the other one, he had sent people to inquire about it, but they didn't get any news at all. I haven't asked for monthly votes for several days. The monthly votes have been accumulating and sliding every day. I'm weekly asking for monthly votes. Monthly votes can be exchanged for a sudden burst _. Chapter 389. The bright sun shone on the earth as the warm breeze mixed with the faint fishy smell of seawater. Outside the Everlasting Feast Hall's HQ on Jingmen Island, a black sedan was approaching at lightning speed. Screech! The black sedan was tens of meters away from the gate's barricade when it suddenly braked and came to a complete stop. Lift the barricade. The moment the middle-aged man in the driver's seat stepped out of the driver's door, he shouted at the 4 big men who had a drastic change in expression. After the 4 big men saw the man in the driver's seat, they immediately showed a respectful expression. One of them immediately lifted the barricade, while the middle-aged man returned to the driver's seat. The moment the door was closed, he stepped on the accelerator to the minimum, and the car was like an arrow leaving the bowstring as it instantly rushed inside. What happened to Instructor Liu? Why is he in such a hurry? Did something big happen? I didn't hear about any task from the top. I think I just saw our boss in the back seat. Boss? Our new boss? Yes. Amidst the discussion of the 4 big men, the black sedan quickly rushed into the Everlasting Feast Hall's parking lot. The moment Tan Xiao opened the door, he saw Gu Xiaoxue dashing over. Grand Master. Gu Xiaoxue's eyes were slightly red as she quickly dashed to the front of Tan Xiao. Behind her were a man and a woman. The man was dressed in a white robe and had soft, shoulder-length hair. He looked to be about 27 or 28 years old, while the woman was dressed in black casual clothes and had a black cloak draped over her shoulders. She also wore a black mask on her face. Boss. I'm light. Boss. I'm dark. The young man and woman cupped their fists and spoke respectfully. Tan Xiao raised his brows and patted Gu Xiaoxue's shoulder. While rushing toward the beach, he asked, What's going on with these 2? Light and dark are the geniuses trained by Master, boss. They are the best among thousands of people, said Gu Xiaoxue. Just like me, they had already started cultivating as soon as they stepped onto the path of cultivation. However, their identities are so special that only a few people in the Everlasting Feast Hall know of their existence. However, their names are on the list I gave you earlier. Tanxio thought about it and remembered that he had seen the words light and dark before, but he didn't expect them to have special identities. To be able to stand out from thousands of people means that your aptitude is not bad. If you perform well, I will teach you stronger cultivation methods and more powerful immortal techniques in the future. Loyalists, if you don't die prematurely, I can give you even greater opportunities. Light and dark looked at each other, and then their eyes burst with surprise. We understand. Tanxio nodded and sprinted to the shoreline as fast as he could. He didn't even take the boat. With the use of the Imperial Wind technique, his feet seemed to be stepping on the surface of the sea. As the layers of ripples spread, he continued to advance into the sea. Wind riding spell? Gu Xiaoxue, light, and dark looked at each other with a surprised look on their faces. Immediately after, the three of them also quickly used the wind riding spell, and followed behind Tanxio like a shadow, quickly rushing toward the sea ahead. Their speed was much faster than Tanxio's. In just a few breaths, they had already maintained a balance with Tanxio. Gu Xiaoxue waved her arms and the seawater was split into two. As they quickly sprinted to the front of the exquisite pagoda, Ji Qimei, who had been waiting for a long time, personally opened the pagoda's door. "My lord, Master is waiting for you on the 7th floor." "Okay." Tanxio complied and instantly rushed to the upper floor. Gu Yan'er, light and dark, were stopped by Ji Qimei, who silently shook her head. "Elder Ji, Master must be very happy," Gu Xiaoxue said softly. Ji Qimei's old face looked a bit gratified as she nodded and sighed. "Of course she'll be happy. Master has been searching for my lord. In short, she has suffered a lot for my lord. I only hope that my lord can understand her feelings." On the 7th floor of the exquisite pagoda, Gu Yan'er, clad in a white dress, was sitting cross-legged on the ice bed. Her fingers were forming strange seals as a chill surged from her body. At this moment, the temperature on the 7th floor was much lower than when she was unconscious. Despite having a great improvement in his cultivation, Tanxio still felt the chill invading his body at this moment. The moment Tanxio stepped into the 7th floor, his eyes were locked on the breathtakingly beautiful face that was as pale as paper. His footsteps instantly halted. His heartbeat accelerated. The warmth that came from his soul was like a gurgling spring, passing this warmth to his limbs and 5 bones. It was as if the chill no longer had the slightest effect on him. Gu Yan'er's eyelashes fluttered as her bright eyes opened. She was slightly startled, but a moment later, her eyes were filled with sparkling tears. Her tender body floated up like a fairy dancing in the air, slowly coming to the front of Tanxio. Yan'er, Tanxio's lips wriggled, his voice a bit hoarse. The sparkling tears in Gu Yan'er's eyes were finally like a broken sea. Big drops of pearls fell from her eyes, sliding down her face and wetting her clothes as she threw herself into Tanxio's arms. "Master!" Her cries were like a cuckoo crying blood, like a swallow returning to its bowels. Thousands of years of obsession turned into a trembling voice, unable to express her longing. Tanxio hugged Gu Yan'er's thin and cold body. There wasn't the slightest evil thought in his heart. His heart was filled with warmth and love, guilt, and longing. Gently lifting his hand, he stroked Gu Yan'er's smooth black hair and murmured, "It's good that you've woken up. Master can see you again. Another part of my lifelong wish has come true. Good child. You're my good child." Gu Yan'er's delicate body turned stiff, and her whimpering instantly subsided. She pulled away from Tanxio and reached out to hold Tanxio's face, shaking her head with tears in her eyes. Tanxio was keenly aware of Gu Yan'er's abnormality. He quickly grabbed her hand and asked with concern, "What's wrong, Yan? Are you feeling unwell again?" Gu Yan'er shook her head and took a deep breath. Her eyes were full of deep affection as she shook her head and said, "Master, Yan'er is very well now. I'm really very well now. To be able to see Master again, even if I have to die now, Yan'er would be willing." Yan'er has never been afraid of hardships in order to find Master for thousands of years. I'm already satisfied as long as I can see Master again. Tanxiu pulled her hand and softly said, Don't worry, Yin. You've seen Master. He's still alive and not dead. Nothing will happen to Master again in the future, and I won't abandon you again. Gu Yan'er nodded repeatedly. Although she couldn't stop her tears from flowing, there was a bright smile on her beautiful and pale face. The smile was pure and full of satisfaction. Tanxiu's expression suddenly turned serious. He took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, Yan'er, Master promises you that I'll find the chrono crystal and the demonic revival grass no matter what price I have to pay in the future to heal your injury. Trust me. The person Gu Yan'er relied on and trusted the most in her life was Tanxiu. Upon hearing Tanxiu's words, she nodded without hesitation and said, Yan'er believes in Master. Tanxiu nodded and said, Also, although Master has returned to Earth and my cultivation has turned into nothingness, believe me, I'll bring you back to the immortal world sooner or later. I'll make Shade Demon Zhu Wuxia pay a painful price for hurting you. You're my disciple, and only I can hit, scold, and punish you. No one else can. Gu Yan'er quickly shook her head and bitterly said, I don't want you to take revenge for me, Master. As long as you're safe and sound in Yen, or can happily follow you in the future, Yan'er will be satisfied. Tanxiu seriously said, You'll be happily following me in the future, but Shade Demon Zhu Wuxia must die, and he can't die so easily. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. Now that we, Master and disciple, have met again, let Master take a good look at you. Gu Yan'er once again revealed a bright smile and nodded. Master, your appearance has changed. Although you still have your shadow, this is the real you, right? Tanxiu nodded and sighed. That's right. Back then, a wisp of Master's divine sense accidentally traveled through space and entered the body of Tanxiu, who shares the same name and surname. I thought that I could only find my way back if I could break through the shackles of a mortal world and become a deity. I didn't expect that they would return to Earth again. On the other hand, Yan'er, although you look a few years older than when you disappeared, your appearance hasn't changed. You're still so beautiful, and you're still Master's favorite disciple. Gu Yan'er smiled and said, Master, it turns out that you were a wisp of divine sense that came to the immortal world. No wonder I had to go through so many hardships to peep at some clues from the heavenly mystery. Fortunately, in my last gamble, I finally made the right bet. Tanxiu sighed and said, Yan'er, Master knows that you must have suffered a lot in the past thousands of years. In fact, you shouldn't have wasted so many years for me. What Master hopes for is that you can live happily and become an immortal or a deity in the future. Your behavior in coming to Earth this time has filled Master's heart with guilt. Gu Yan'er shook her head and smilingly said, You're the only source of my happiness, Master. I'm actually very regretful that I shouldn't have gone to that hopeless situation to find. Tanxiu gently shook his head and interrupted Gu Yan'er's words, saying, Yan'er, if I were still in the immortal world now, I would think that you really shouldn't have gone there. But now I feel that you're really right to go there. All the Supremes in the entire immortal world know that you're my favorite disciple. I was ambushed by them and almost died. If you were still by my side at that time, I'm afraid you wouldn't have a good ending either. Gu Yan'er fell into silence. She knew that what Tanxiu said made sense. Had she been by her master's side at that time, she would have probably died at that time. If she were really killed by them at that time, there would probably be no chance for them to reunite at this moment. Sorry, the scheduled update failed. Here's the next chapter. Chapter 390. Master and disciple reunited, confiding in each other. Although the 7th floor of the Linglong Treasure Pagoda was cold, their hearts were filled with warmth. As time passed, the two chatted more and more. Finally, Gu Yan'er seemed to recall something as she jumped up and said with a charming smile, Master, Yan'er wants to give you a gift. Although I couldn't find the thing I wanted to find for you in the past, I found something better. I believe that Master will definitely like it. What is it? Tanxiu asked in surprise. Gu Yan'er's toes lightly touched the ground, and her white skirt fluttered like a fairy. Then, a soft green light appeared in her hand out of thin air, and in the center of the green light was a dark green seed. That's right. It was a seed, exuding a strong vitality. Tang Xiu's brows deeply furrowed as he observed the seed inside the green light. But he found that he couldn't find the slightest information about this seed, even after searching the stored knowledge in his mind. He was sure that he had never seen a seed with this shape before. Yener, this is? Tan Xiu asked curiously. Gu Yener smiled. Master, do you know what the first 3 items of the immortal world's 10 great divine objects are? Tan Xiu said. I do know. The first is the heart of the realm, the second is the heavenly path universe tree, and the third is the divine wheel of samsara. Gu Yener smiled. That's right, the heart of the realm is the core of the immortal world, located in the most mysterious illusory world. A few eras ago, an almighty returned from the divine world and borrowed the energy of the heart of the realm to expand the immortal world by several million times. The divine wheel of samsara is the deepest reincarnation law of the heavenly Tao. Whoever can control it can control the path of reincarnation for billions of lives, and use the karma of reincarnation to step into the divine world. Unfortunately, this is only a legend. No one has ever obtained the divine wheel of samsara. And this seed is the only crystallization of the heavenly path universe tree in this era, the only seed born since the immortal world was re-established. If this seed was planted in a person's heart, that person would be able to control the second path to the God realm. Because before the heavenly path universe tree was cut down, it was the path to the God realm. Tan Xiu looked at the seed in horror. His eyes moved with difficulty to Gu Yener's bright smile, and he asked in shock, Yener, you? Where did you get this thing? A ruthless glint flashed in Gu Yener's eyes. She laughed and said, Master, in the 3600th year after you were rumored to have been killed, the 17 most powerful supremes in the immortal world each contributed a drop of their natal blood essence in order to obtain a new path to heaven. After the celestial mystery Heavenly Emperor and his 9 disciples spent 360 years of painstaking deduction, they finally found a trace of heaven's secret. Afterward, the 17 most powerful supremes in the immortal world found the heavenly path universe tree's seed according to the place that the celestial mystery Heavenly Emperor had deduced, which was the Luotung land in the Emerald Radish immortal domain. The celestial mystery Heavenly Emperor was able to divine that trace of heaven's secret, but he couldn't divine people's hearts. The 17 most powerful supremes in the immortal world, including him, fought with each other, and Supreme Beiwa was killed. But before he died, he used the blood prohibition divine technique to forcibly tear the space and pass the seed to me. Tan Xiu's expression slightly changed. Supreme Beiwa died? And he even knows the blood prohibition divine technique? This is the most powerful forbidden technique of the master of the demon world's sinless demon emperor, the one who has become a demon god and ascended to the god world. Master, Supreme Beiwa was originally from the demon world, but his soul was changed and he was forcibly sent to the immortal world, said Gu Yener. After a long period of cultivation, he finally became a supreme in the immortal world. After he passed me this seed, he left me a message. What message? Asked Tan Xiu. Gu Yener said, he said, the mad demon once helped me, and now I return the favor. A sword and a meal, to put an end to the past. Tan Xiu's heart trembled, and he slowly closed his eyes. Once, he accidentally passed through a certain desperate situation in the immortal world, and encountered Supreme Beiwa, who was unable to escape. Because he didn't want to see an expert's soul fly away and scatter, he helped. With a sword, he cut off the soul-devouring grass in the desperate situation, and rescued the dying Supreme Beiwa, and then gave him a healing panacea to help him restore his vitality. Later, when he returned to the place where he cultivated, Supreme Beiwa visited him several times in an attempt to return the favor, but because he was in seclusion, he didn't meet him. He didn't expect that his best friend of thousands of years would betray him because of benefits, and Supreme Beiwa, who had only saved his life once, would unexpectedly not forget to repay him for saving his life when he was facing a desperate situation where his soul would fly away and scatter. What is an immortal? What is a demon? Tan Xiu suddenly smiled. He looked at Gu Yener and said with a smile, Yener, you guessed it? Gu Yener chuckled and said, Master, I guessed it. In fact, before Supreme Beiwa passed on this seed to me, I had already guessed it. Because in order to become stronger in the immortal world, in order to find the whereabouts of Master, I have experienced countless life and death situations. 2 of them, it was Supreme Beiwa who saved me. The first time, he saved me and said he wanted to take me as his disciple, but I refused. The second time, he saved me and said he wanted me to apologize in front of your grave. Tanshio nodded and sighed. This Supreme Beiwa is really a sentimental supreme of the immortal world. When I return to the immortal world in the future, I will definitely take care of his descendants. Gu Yener said with a smile. Master, quickly plant this seed of the Heavenly Path Universe tree in your heart. Only with the nourishment of your heart's blood essence can it take root and germinate, and grow strong and strong. I'm looking forward to the day when Master can plant a new Heavenly Path Universe tree in your heart. One that can surpass the peak of the God realm. Tanshio shot a deep look at Gu Yener. He didn't reach out to take it, but was silent for a moment before he slowly asked. Yener, why don't you plant this seed of the Heavenly Path Universe tree? Even if you plant it, Master can still ascend to the immortal world with your help in the future. Gu Yener shook her head and said, Master, only you deserve to have this seed. You're the only one I have. Whoever wants to have this seed is blasphemy against my feelings for Master, even myself. Tanshio's heart was shaken. He silently took the seed and his star force instantly fused into his palm. He then pulled the seed of the Heavenly Path Universe tree into his heart. The moment his heart split open, the seed fused with it. Then, the crack in his heart slowly healed under the nourishment of the star force. Boom! A domineering aura full of vitality exploded inside Tanshio's heart. Before Tanshio could react, a space expanded inside Tanshio's heart. Although this space was only a few square meters in size, Tanshio's blood essence from his heart poured into this space. As for the seed that was glowing with a green light, it floated quietly above the blood essence. My heart see. I actually have a heart see? Tanshio suddenly felt that his life aura had skyrocketed and his blood essence had increased by hundreds of times. His entire body state had become stronger than ever. Even after becoming a supreme in the immortal world, he had never felt this kind of energetic feeling, as though his soul had been sublimated. With a smile on her face, Gu Yener looked at Tanshio's surging aura and softly said, Congratulations, Yener Master. You're the only person I worship and the only one I can rely on. Yener will have to rely on you in the future, Master. Don't worry, Tanshio smilingly said. I'll definitely try my best to heal your injury and make you happy and stay by my side. Even if you find your Mr. Right in the future, I won't let you go far away with him. I want to watch over you and love you dearly. I can't let anything happen to you again. Mr. Right. The smile on Gu Yener's face instantly froze. At this moment, her heart felt as though it had been cut by a knife. It hurt. Ever since she grew up and knew how to love, the person closest to her was also the person she loved the most. The obsession in her heart had supported her for thousands of years to crazily cultivate, improve her strength, and search for her master's whereabouts. That's right. It was because of the familial love. And the infatuation of love. If others asked her to find her Mr. Right, she could ignore it and ignore it. But not her master, because she had already given her heart to him. He couldn't push himself away. Tanshio noticed the strange expression on Gu Yener's face and hurriedly asked with concern. Yener, are you not feeling well? Quickly sit on the ice bed. Don't worry, when you're awake, Master won't take a step away. I'll be here with you. Gu Yener took a deep breath. She used to be infatuated with her master, but she could only secretly love him in her heart, and didn't dare to show it in the slightest. But now, she had experienced too much. She didn't even care about life and death. So, at this moment, she became very brave. Master, unless Yener stays unmarried for the rest of her life, the only person Yener has to marry is you, Master. Tanshio felt as though he had been struck by lightning. His body instantly became extremely stiff. He looked at Gu Yener in disbelief. It was as if he suddenly felt that his precious disciple in front of him had become so unfamiliar. This child, is she joking? Tanshio thought in his heart. But looking at Gu Yener's serious expression, he felt that it didn't seem like a joke. For a moment, Even though he had lived for thousands of years, he was at a loss. Gu Yan'er looked at Tan Xiu's appearance and felt a little sad in her heart. But at the same time, she was also a little excited. Because she finally said what she had hidden in her heart for thousands of years, and wanted to say the most. In that complicated mood, Gu Yan'er gently sat next to Tan Xiu. She reached out and held Tan Xiu's arm. She gently leaned her head on Tan Xiu's shoulder and said softly, "Master, you are the closest person to Yan'er. I will follow you for the rest of my life. Unless you kill me with your own hands, you will never be able to get rid of me." Tan Xiu smiled bitterly and said, "You child, don't say silly things anymore. Master once married." Chapter 391. Gu Yan'er raised her head and looked at Tan Xiu's frozen expression. She sighed inwardly and said, "Master, you married that woman. Even if you didn't have that love tribulation, I would have told you my feelings sooner or later. In my opinion, no woman in this world can have a master all by herself. Even if master has countless wives, as long as you have Yan'er in your heart, Yan'er will be satisfied." She suddenly sat up straight. She turned to the opposite side of Tan Xiu and squatted in front of Tan Xiu. She raised her small face and said, "Master, if you like that woman, I'll let you have her no matter what the price is. Even if you want to have a harem of 3,000 beauties and 30,000 immortal concubines, I can help you gather them. Master is Yan'er's only one. Yan'er will do her best to help you get whatever you want." Tan Xiu's heart trembled. He looked at Gu Yan'er in disbelief. Apart from a bitter smile, he couldn't find any words to express his feelings. What the hell? After a long while, Tan Xiu suddenly thought of Han Qinggu. His mind raced and he asked, "Yan'er, can you tell me something?" Gu Yan'er smiled and said, "What do you want to know, master? As long as Yan'er knows, she'll definitely tell you everything." Tan Xiu hesitated for a moment before he gritted his teeth and asked, "How is she?" "Shui Qingcheng?" Gu Yan'er frowned slightly and asked. "Yeah." Tan Xiu nodded. "Rumor has it that after you were persecuted by Great Emperor Danqing and Juyaoqin demon, she was also killed by them," said Gu Yan'er. "I'm not 100% sure whether she's alive or dead now. Even though I've secretly investigated her for thousands of years, yet I've never been able to find a single trace of her. It's as if she's vanished into thin air from the immortal dimension." A murderous look flashed across Tan Xiu's eyes as he said, "You mean she might really have died in the hands of Great Emperor Danqing and Juyaoqin demon?" "It's indeed very likely." Gu Yan'er nodded. "However, my main purpose is to find your whereabouts, and investigating her is only to avenge you. So, I can't be too sure." At this moment, Tan Xiu finally understood. He understood that the woman he had once been infatuated with was most likely dead. The Han Qinggu on Earth was probably her reincarnation. However, he still had some doubts. How could she have been reincarnated on Earth so coincidentally? Gu Yan'er's expression suddenly changed. She said, "Master, I once bewitched the shade demon Zhu Wuxia and learned something from his most beloved disciple." "What is it?" Tan Xiu asked. Gu Yan'er said, "Zhu Wuxia's disciple said that Gu Yan'er is actually his senior sister, and also the shade demon Zhu Wuxia's eldest disciple." "What did you say?" Tan Xiu suddenly stood up, his eyes bursting with disbelief. "Shade demon Zhu Wuxia's disciple?" "Shui Qingqing actually," Gu Yan'er said. "Master, I believe that Zhu Wuxia's disciple shouldn't have lied to me. But what I don't understand is why Shade Demon Zhu Wuxia sent his eldest disciple to infiltrate the Rosefinch holy sect." Tan Xiu didn't answer Gu Yan'er's words. He took a deep breath and finally understood why Shui Qingqing was so abnormal during the days he spent with her. In the past, he didn't understand. Now that he thought about it carefully, he finally understood some things. Tan Xiu put away all his thoughts and looked at Gu Yan'er and said, "Yan'er, let's not talk about this topic anymore. If I get that seed, my cultivation speed will definitely be faster in the future. Only by making myself stronger can I protect the people I care about, and return to the immortal world to find those people I still care about, and collect some debts from them with interest." Gu Yan'er said softly, "Master, I'm afraid Yan'er can't help you." Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "You're wrong. You can help me, and you can even be my biggest helper." Gu Yan'er hesitated and said, "But I really don't have much time left." "Shut up," Tan Xiu angrily rebuked. "Who said you don't have much time left? Before, you kept saying that you trust Master. Do you really think that Master can't find the chrono crystal and the demonic revival grass?" Gu Yan'er looked a bit flustered. She quickly shook her head and said, "This disciple is wrong. I believe Master can do it." Tan Xiu looked at Gu Yan'er's panic-stricken appearance and felt a sense of pity in his heart. He reached out to pull her up and gently let her sit beside him. Just like when she was a child, he reached out and hugged her in his arms and said softly, "Yan'er, it's Master's fault. Master shouldn't have gotten angry. But you have to believe in Master. No matter how difficult it is, no matter what price I have to pay, Master must find these two things and completely remove the damage caused by the Twilight Nightmare." And Gu Yan'er used Tan Xiu's chest as a pillow and gently nodded. Tan Xiu suddenly smiled and said, "Yan'er, your current cultivation is much stronger than Master's. Tell Master, what stage have you reached now?" "I'm just a step away from the supremacy stage," replied Gu Yan'er with a chuckle. "Amazing." Tan Xiu was surprised. "Your cultivation speed is even faster than Master's when I was in the past. It's all thanks to Master who laid a solid foundation for me," said Gu Yan'er with a joyful expression. "Later, I encountered some fortuitous encounters. However, the power I can exert now is probably only that of an ordinary immortal." Tan Xiu chuckled and said, "This is Earth, and you're already the most powerful here. You can even easily destroy this planet if you want to." "I don't want to," Gu Yan'er laughed. "This is Master's hometown, and it's also Yan'er's home. In any case, wherever Master goes, Yan'er will be there too." Tan Xiu nodded and said, "Yan'er, I'm going to take the exquisite pagoda away from here. It's because I found an island in the Pacific Ocean that's very similar to the 9 Dragons Spitting Pearl secret domain we used to live on. I've bought the island and personally designed the reconstruction blueprints. A large number of construction workers are now renovating it. Once the renovation is completed, it will become a treasured land with good feng shui. It will be our base camp and our home in the future. Then, can Yan'er plant the 7-colored immortal grasses there when she wakes up?" Gu Yan'er was pleasantly surprised. There are still many seeds of the 7-colored immortal grasses in Yan'er's interspatial ring. "Sure," replied Tan Xiu with a smile. The smile on Gu Yan'er's face turned brighter. Suddenly, she recalled something and said, "Master, your cultivation is not high now, so you need to eat, right? Are you hungry? Yan'er wants to eat something. Can you accompany Yan'er to a restaurant to have some food?" Tan Xiu quickly said, "Yan'er, it's not suitable for you to leave the exquisite pagoda now. If you want to eat something, I'll call someone to send it over. This Master will accompany you to eat here." Gu Yan'er grabbed Tan Xiu's arm with both hands, shaking it and acting like a spoiled child. "Master, please agree. Yan'er wakes up here every time. I really want to go out and see the outside world. Besides, we're just going to have a meal, and the time is very short. I heard from Elder Ji that you found the precious herbs for me to concoct the sense-condensing pellet, and asked Elder Ji to refine it for me. My spirit is very good now. I can stay awake for 2 or 3 days even if I go out for a meal." Tan Xiu hesitated. He didn't have the heart to refuse Gu Yan'er's request. After a while he slowly nodded and said, "How about this? I'll go inform Xiaoxue and ask her to prepare a meal in the restaurant. We'll go out when the meal is almost ready. The less time you spend outside, the less it will affect you." "And thank you, Master," Gu Yan'er said with a pleasantly surprised expression. Tan Xiu got up and came to the exquisite pagoda's first floor at his fastest speed. Looking at the 4 pairs of eyes, Tan Xiu said, "Xiaoxue, go prepare some food. Yan'er and I will go to the restaurant to have a meal." "Venerable Lord Master Ji Qimei quickly said. Tan Xiu raised his hand to interrupt her and said, "Ji Qimei, I understand what you're thinking. I also have the same concerns. But she really wants to go out and see the outside world, so I'll promise him this time. A meal won't be long, and it's much better than making her stay in the exquisite pagoda and suffocate." I understand your meaning, Venerable Lord. Ji Qimei nodded. Xiaoxue, go arrange it immediately. Understood. Upon hearing that her master could leave the exquisite pagoda for a while, Xiaoxue immediately shouted with excitement. Immediately after, her figure turned into a phantom and disappeared in front of the pagoda's entrance in an instant. Half an hour later, when Gu Xiaoxue sent a message saying that the meal was ready, Tanxiu came to the exquisite pagoda's first floor with Gu Yan. Greetings, master. Light and Dark's eyes were filled with excitement as they knelt in front of Gu Yan. Gu Yan held Tanxiu's arm with one hand and gently lifted the other. A gentle force swept over the two and gently lifted them up. You two don't need to be so polite. We haven't seen each other for several years, and you've grown up a lot. Wait until I'm done eating with master, then you can come here and kowtow to me. Ji Qimei's expression moved and said in a deep voice, What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and thank your master. Master? Light and Dark exchanged glances. Suddenly, they seemed to realize something and wanted to kneel again with excitement. However, recalling Gu Yan'er's words, they restrained themselves and respectfully complied before retreating to the side. At this moment, Gu Yan'er no longer looked at anyone else. There was no one else in her eyes except her master. Just like that, she held Tanxiu's arm and followed Tanxiu step by step to leave the exquisite pagoda, and came to the sea outside. In just a few breaths, she came to the shore with a charming smile on her face with Tanxiu. Master, this everlasting feast hall established by Yin is not bad. At least, these people from the everlasting feast hall found you. Tanxiu nodded and smilingly said, They're all very good. In fact, you also gave master a good lesson. What lesson? Asked Gu Yan'er curiously. Chapter 392. As Tanxiu and Gu Yan'er strolled toward the main floor of the restaurant, a faint smile appeared on his handsome face as he said, The more people there are, the more firewood there is, the higher the fire. I used to only pursue my own strength and neglected my subordinates, which led to the disunity of the people and the disunity of my forces. Finally, when I was about to ascend to godhood, I encountered the betrayal of my beloved and close friends, who tried to kill me. Gu Yan'er said, Master, do you mean that it's very important to train a large number of loyal subordinates? But there's only one reason why I've trained so many people, and that's to find you. Tanxiu looked at her lovingly and said, That's right, it's to train my subordinates. If I had many powerful and loyal subordinates to protect me at that time, I would have had many of them to help me stall them even if they wanted to launch an attack at the most critical moment of my tribulation. As long as I succeed in crossing the tribulation, I can become a godly monarch in the immortal world, and obtain the qualification to enter the gate of eternal life. But before I step through the gate, just the divine power that descends from the God world will make my strength soar. At that time, I can easily wipe out those traitors. Gu Yan'er nodded thoughtfully and said, I understand what you said, Master. Many of my subordinates have died for me over the past thousands of years, at least tens of thousands of them. Many times, it was them who helped me stall the enemies and kept me alive. Tanxiu nodded and said, There are betrayals and loyalty in this world. We only need to sharpen our eyes. Time will reveal a person's heart, and we'll naturally know who can be trained with all our strength, and who needs to give up early. I understand, Master. Gu Yan'er smiled and suddenly said, Let's not talk about such heavy topics, Master. You see, I've come out and can finally see the outside world, so we should be happy. Tanxiu smiled faintly, but a trace of heartache flashed in his eyes. His eyes were like torches. How could he not see that his precious disciple was suffering from the invasion of the time nightmare at this moment, enduring that knife-like pain? Tanxiu was smiling, but in his heart, he had already developed a crazed desire to kill Shade Demon Zhu Wuxia. In fact, at this moment, he had already changed his mind. In the future, when he could deal with Zhu Wuxia, he definitely couldn't let him die so easily. He had to extract his soul and temper him for 1,000,000 years, making him suffer the cruelest torture for 1,000,000 years. Yan'er, you're right. We should be happy. Hee hee. The Everlasting Feast Hall had a large number of core experts, with more than 100 of them staying at their headquarters in Jingmen Island. However, when the members of a patrol team passed by, their gazes fell on two figures in the distance. Their pupils shrank, and as their expressions changed, ecstasy took over their hearts. Xiao, 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 Xiao. Four figures flickered lightning fast and dashed toward Tan Xiao and Gu Yen'er as they knelt and kowtowed at the same time. Subordinates greet the two bosses. Their voices were trembling, and their eyes were sparkling. Obviously, it wasn't because of Tan Xiao, but because of Gu Yen'er. Bai Yi by Peng Songwu, Huayang, the four of you still like to gather together. We haven't seen each other for more than a decade, right? Xiao Xue has told me about you many times. Gu Yen'er smiled, but her hands gently held Tan Xiao's arm. The four people felt warm inside. They didn't expect that after so many years, their boss would still remember their names and even recognize them at a glance. Furthermore, after so many years, their boss was still so young and beautiful. She was still wearing her fluttering white dress, which was unforgettable. But, after the four of them were lifted by a gust of air, their eyes were filled with confusion, reflecting the posture of Gu Yen'er holding Tan Xiao's arm. Gu Yen'er didn't look at the four people anymore. She raised her beautiful face and said with a smile, "Master, let's go eat. Every time I wake up, I'm hungry, but Elder Ji is only willing to let me eat some fruits or drink some medicinal soup. Yen'er hasn't had a bite of food for almost 10 years. All right, let's eat." Tan Xiao nodded with a smile. The two figures continued to walk forward. Every time they passed by a blooming flower or a bird, Gu Yen'er would dance like a happy fairy, dancing around Tan Xiao and lingering around the flowers and birds. Her bell-like laughter vividly expressed her joyful mood. Bai Yi, Bai Peng, and the others exchanged dismayed looks. Although they knew that Gu Yen'er addressed Tan Xiao as Grandmaster, they were still shocked when they heard Gu Yen'er address Tan Xiao as Master. "Notify the others." "Yes, notify them quickly." The four of them took out their mobile phones and dialed the other members' numbers. Wush Jiqime silently appeared in front of the four people and indifferently said, "You can notify the others, but remember, don't let anyone disturb Master and the Venerable Lord. If Master wants to see everyone, wait for them to finish their meal." "Understood." Bai Yi's group of four quickly replied respectfully. Along the way, Gu Yen'er was as though the incarnation of a carefree and happy fairy. She followed Tan Xiao and talked about all kinds of relaxing topics. Her graceful body danced from time to time, causing the Everlasting Feast Hall's core members to be dumbfounded. Among the hundreds of core members of the Everlasting Feast Hall, nearly all of whom were experts personally trained by Gu Yen'er. Yet, they had never seen Gu Yen'er reveal such a cheerful smile like that of a little girl. In front of the main building, dozens of core members of the Everlasting Feast Hall stood on both sides of the road with ecstatic expressions, quietly waiting for Gu Yen'er's arrival. However, when two figures appeared at the end of the path, the ecstatic expression on their faces froze, and was gradually replaced by disbelief. Is that boss? How did she become like a child, among all of them? Only Tan Xiao didn't think that there was anything wrong with Gu Yen'er's words and behavior. In his eyes, Gu Yen'er would always be a child. It was he who raised Gu Yen'er and watched her grow up day by day. "Greetings, boss." Dozens of core members of the Everlasting Feast Hall bowed and saluted after the two arrived. "You're all very good." Gu Yen'er smiled and said, "Although I haven't seen you for years, Xiao Xue told me about your situation. Very good, and I'm very satisfied with your performance over the years. However, I may not be able to appear often in the future. He's my master and also my closest relative. Any order from him is more important than mine, and the first person you need to be loyal to from now on is him." "Understood." Dozens of strong men cupped their fists at the same time. At the same time, from various directions in the distance, a group of silhouettes were rushing over. There were men and women among them, and all of them exuded a valiant aura. "Greetings, boss." Standing next to Gu Yen'er, Tan Xiao watched her praising everyone with a gratified expression. He suddenly realized that the little girl he raised had now really grown up. "Let's go inside, Yen'er," said Tan Xiao softly. Gu Yenner faintly smiled and intimately held Tan Xiu's arm as they turned around and entered the main building of the restaurant. Under her lead, the duo then came to the VIP lounge. Wow, what a sumptuous meal! As they entered the room, Gu Yenner's eyes turned into crescent moons as she looked at the long table full of delicious dishes. She then pulled Tan Xiu to the table. Time fleeted by. During the dinner, Tan Xiu and Gu Yenner ate very slowly, but the atmosphere was particularly warm. At this moment, hundreds of people had gathered outside the Everlasting Feast Hall's main building, and all of them were respectfully waiting. Including Gu Xiaoxue, who just came out of the main building. Today, many guests who came to the Everlasting Feast Hall for dinner found this strange phenomenon. Many of them even inquired about the reason why so many people appeared here. Each and every one of them exuded a special temperament. Ha! What's going on here? Ouyang Lulu, who was fiddling with the car key in her hand, came to the front of the main building of the Everlasting Feast Hall. She had been to the Everlasting Feast Hall many times, so she knew that most of the people here were members of the Everlasting Feast Hall. Yet, she couldn't figure out why everyone gathered together. Most of them were lined up in neat lines like soldiers waiting quietly. Lulu, Gu Xiaoxue strode forward with a satisfied smile on her face as she came before Ouyang Lulu. What's going on here? Ouyang Lulu was surprised. Is it Tan Xiu who came? But even if he came, there's no need to make such a big scene. Look at those guests, they're all pointing and watching. The boss is here. He and my master are having dinner inside. Gu Xiaoxue chuckled. Your master? Ouyang Lulu's eyes widened. She knew that Ouyang Lulu had a mysterious master, but she had never seen her before. Later on, due to the relationship between Tan Xiu and the Everlasting Feast Hall, she went back to ask her mother and learned some things about Gu Yenner from her. Big sis Shui, your master is back? Yes, she is. Gu Xiaoxue chuckled and nodded. Then I'll go visit her. Ouyang Lulu quickly said. By the way, I'll ask Tan Xiu if he still needs my private jet. Gu Xiaoxue blocked Ouyang Lulu's path and shook her head. Lulu, we'll talk about other things later. Let my master accompany Grand Master to finish the meal. Why? Ouyang Lulu was puzzled. Gu Xiaoxue gave her an apologetic look and shook her head. Xiaoxue, I can't tell you why for the time being, but I hope you can listen to me. Master and Grandmaster are finally reunited, and they need some private space. Ouyang Lulu looked at Gu Xiaoxue with a strange expression. She then nodded and said, Forget it. Since it's like this, I'll wait here with you. To be honest, I'm really curious about your master. Thank you. Gu Xiaoxue chuckled. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.